said you had 2 pork chops at lunch. Brett? Alice told me you had 2 pork chops at lunch. Now you got 2 plates.
1.5.
1.5.
But who's split pork chops?
All right, good evening. Welcome to the October 9th, 2025 pre-council agenda meeting. We've got a full house, so I'd like to thank everyone for taking time to come out this evening. This is just a reminder looking forward to next month. Our November regularly scheduled council meeting lands on Veterans Day, which is a city holiday, so we'll be closed. So earlier this year, the council voted to move that to Monday, November 10th. So don't show up on the 11th. It'll be crickets around here. So that's just a reminder. Also, if you would like to address the city council this evening pertaining to a particular agenda item, just please sign in at the podium underneath that appropriate item with your name and address and who you represent. This evening I have asked Don Rainey to lead us in our invocation and Tanya Hill to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Before I pray, I just want you to know our fellow council person has had a medical procedure today, and apparently it was successful, so thank God for that too. Pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this time together. Thank you for this city. Thank you for the citizens, staff of the city. Please be with us tonight as we make some decisions that will be for the benefit of the city and the citizens. Guide us, keep us on the right track. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Call this meeting to order. And first up, we have our friends here from Entergy Solutions. So y'all come on up. We've got a presentation this evening. They've been working with the city of Searcy for quite some time now. And so thank y'all for being here. And we have Alexis Teal and Kelly Withers. So y'all take it away.
Thank you for having us. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I'm Alexis Teal. This is Kelly Withers, and we are with Entergy Solutions. So we're here to give an update. You guys were provided with information last year about your energy master plan that we worked on together. And so this is just kind of a 2025 update for continuous energy improvements. Those are our behavioral changes that we've come in and really worked with Mayor Faulkner and his staff to turn off lights and schedule HVAC when it's unoccupied times and things like that. So we're seeing great savings at Carmichael Center and the police department. So shout out to those 2 locations. Total savings so far achieved this year is just under 25,000 kilowatt hours, and that equates to just under $2,500 in an estimated cost avoidance. So that's money that you're not having to pay on your Entergy bill every month. So, and we are continuing to monitor other locations, so we will report on those next. We will continue with our monthly check-in calls. We are very, very grateful for the great staff here in the city of Searcy. We've had a great time working with them, and we're looking forward to more. And I will turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you.
So also over the year, we've also looked at your multiple buildings here. We've installed 45 smart thermostats, which helps you with those times and allows you to turn them on and off when they're not occupied. So you've had about 80,000 of kWh avoidance, which accumulates to about 8,000 estimated annual cost. We also helped with the HVAC tune-ups. We did about 43 units here in Searcy. So we tuned them, we did a report on them, we let them know how they were running, if they were energy efficient, if they needed to be adjusted. And with that, you saved about 75,000 kWh. So we're still working with the city of Searcy on some upcoming projects. You guys have that community block grant that was awarded to the city of Searcy, so we're working with Debbie Smith on that for that grant. Those lighting in the various city buildings, I just talked to Jeff Webb about that on an update. So as that moves along, we'll be helping them with those incentives. Also working with the Parks and Rec on the new community center here, the outdoor water park, and the Berry Hill upgrades. So, and then also tonight, we do have a check Good job.
That's always
and-
good
It
news.
is good news, and from what I've heard, a lot of feedback from the city is that the lights are looking great. Everybody's enjoying having those lights on the soccer field. I know that's a new addition to the city.
Well, I'll just brag on you for a minute, or your whole team. Y'all are consistent. We meet with you every month. You're very thorough in all the reports on all of our facilities and tell us things to look at and evaluate. And if there's, you know, a bump in the road, you say, hey, what's going on there? So we appreciate that. And also a shout out to Jeff Webb and the whole maintenance department, because they're really the implementers with this whole program. So thank you, Jeff.
I just want to say about the lights, I've got the grandkids playing softball across the street, sitting there under those lights, and you look over there on that soccer field. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. Good job.
Well, and we would like to ask you if you'd like to participate in the golf check presentation. We do have a check to present to you, but we'd like to get the board together for a photo with Entergy for this moment to give you that check.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you want us just down front?
Yeah, down in front
Okay.
of us.
Come on down.
I think I'm just gonna get it on that. Everyone say cheese. Got it, got it. I got you. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for always coming with a positive attitude.
Thank y'all.
Scoot right up close. You and Jason will be looking over here.
Right. Item number 2, we have the quarterly reports from the Chamber of Commerce, Forward Searcy, Main Street Searcy, and the Humane Society. If you'll remember, we went to written reports, so all those should be in your packets. And we thank y'all very much for that information and your continued partnership. And item number 3, we have an update from Blanson and Associates on our financial services. Tim?
Hey, good evening, everyone. From looking at the agenda, it looks like we'll have the audit soon, so we should be able to have these, unallocated amounts at our next meeting updated with the numbers off the audit, so that'll be a good improvement, some useful information for y'all. All right, so at the end of September, total fund balance increased 2.5 million up to 31.54 million. Year-to-date revenues were 28 million. Our top sources there, of course, are sales and use still. Year-to-date expenditures are 19.55, which is 68% of the current amended budget. Net increase in the general fund of 1.79 million, had 6.72 million transfer out primarily for the debt service. Street fund revenues, 1.73 million. We've spent 2.02, so 75% of the amended budget for it. Net decrease of 288, which is expected of what was allocated from the prior year and is going into this. Overall, we're currently ahead of where we were last year with collections on taxes. General fund still remains strong. And the Fund 14, or the 8-year 1% tax, we'll probably have that blurb knocked off next month since that's going away as we expected to. Overall, though, everything looks pretty strong and seems to be going pretty smooth so far.
That's good news. Any questions for Tim?
Congratulations on your little boy, correct?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Lots of new babies in your office.
Oh, yeah, evidently don't go drink the water. Thank you all much.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
report. Item number 4, federal and state audit reports. Jeff? Jason.
All right, you have first in your packet the federal audit that was done on our federal awards that we had, which was a little over $2 million. I would just point you to page 5 in the middle where their opinion says that the city has complied in all material respects with compliance requirements to those funds for December 31, 2024. Again, on page 8, there's a little additional breakdown pointing out that we have no control deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls, no audit findings of note, that we're a low-risk auditee, and that our financial statements have no weaknesses or deficiencies, and overall just nothing to cite there. The next audit report is the legislative audit. As of just a few minutes ago, I think this report has finally been filed. I was watching the meeting this afternoon. Our report has been deferred until today's meeting, and they wanted to ask some questions of Linda on our court citing that was in their management letter that said that they were unable to identify some funds in the bank account with some receipt numbers on cases. The explanation that she was able to give them in the meeting was that that amount of money was actually cited on the 2023 report, that there was no outage in 2024, but because of the timing of when this was finalized, it was still cited, and they're getting ready to return that money to the state, and it's cleared up, and so they released the report, and it's going to be filed today. So the other issue on that check that we had emailed about, the $76,000 check that we got back due to a fraud scam, they said, you know, that's no fault of ours, and so everything was fine with the legislative audit today.
Let me just make sure I understand though. You keep saying the check and everything. I mean, nobody came in here and stole a check out of our office, did they?
No.
They just attempted to run a check through our bank account.
If you look at the electronic image, someone actually washed off the ink and put their name on it and tried to cash a $76,000 check of ours. It's a common bank scheme, fraud scheme, and fortunately our internal controls caught it, and the bank gave us our money back, and there was no loss.
And that was within 24 hours.
Yes, next day.
Yeah.
It was the next day.
Mr. Neer, is this similar to what they call when they talk about washing a check out or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yes, sir. Yep, they washed the name off of, acid washed the name of the payer off of that and put their name on it.
Back on the court clerk's money, you know, this has been kind of going on for a couple of years.
Right.
But are you saying that it has clearly been determined that these are funds that should have gone to the state?
From what I understand, I watched their meeting today where they were asking Linda about this. And Linda stated that they were working with three other courts together because 2 or 3 others had this same issue, and they were reconciling it and getting it all cleaned up to get that money into the state account. And that was hopefully to be done by the end of the year, but it may go into like January before they get it back.
So these were fines and costs collected that were due to the state?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to, so these were cases prosecuted by the prosecuting attorney as a state charge in our district court?
That's my understanding of that.
And these are funds that should have already been gone to the state before now?
Yes, yes. But they did have no objections to the report, and it was filed today. So I'm assuming we're cleared now on this report.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions from the council? All right, appreciate your report.
Thanks, Jason.
We're clear to move that forward for Tuesday. Thank you. Item number 5, we have a presentation of COSIF, which stands for City of Searcy Employee Foundation Roger Pearson's gonna update the council on something special they've been working on for a while.
So, I'm gonna start my timer, because the department head said I had 5 minutes, I told him I was gonna do 1. So if it goes longer than 5, it's the city council's fault, not mine. You all have one in your packets, I believe, it looks just like this, tells you what TOSIP is, and, I'm gonna summarize, in my years as an employee with CSR, I've seen multiple times where employees were in a bind, where they really need some help, and there was no place to find the help. And we as a city always wanted to help them, but it wasn't always in our power to do it. And especially with city council and tax money, there's a lot of things we can't do, like a picnic every year to tell our employees we appreciate them. Those are just expenses we can't do, and that's kind of where this thought came from. There's bound to be a way that we can do something like that. And then as the time went on, I said, there's this and that, and then I started looking into other foundations about what they do, and I said, man, this should really be a beautiful thing. So I'm going to read some of the bullet points, not for y'all because you have it in front of you, but for YouTube land so they will know. And then before I read it, I want to say one thing, is this is not taxpayer money. This is privately funded across the board, so no taxpayer money whatsoever is involved. I will say also before I read is that there is, I'm already at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Sorry, guys. There is, the board is structured in such a way that no one person will have control over it for an extended period of time. So this is going to be a live board that will change to some degree annually by at least one person. So with that, I'll read these 5 bullet points for YouTube land and open it up for any questions. But our purpose is to provide financial aid to employees in times of hardship and unexpected burdens, promote public appreciation for the dedication and contributions of City of Searcy employees, support safety initiatives through education, training, and provision of safety-related items, encourage academic and professional growth by facilitating opportunities for learning and development, and promote stress reduction and wellness through programs and resources designed for employees. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Roger, you may have stated this when you first, but y'all created a nonprofit organization.
We did. We're registered with the Secretary of State. We're certificated as a nonprofit 501c3 through the state with the tax EID, Employment Identification Number. And we are not yet on the federal status. We're waiting to get off the ground, and then we will submit our 1023-EZ.
But anyone can make a contribution to this.
Anyone can make a contribution. As a matter of fact, we're set up in such a way that there's levels of contribution like a lot of organizations have. We have a line level, a bison level, an endowment level. There's 5 different levels for contributions, and then the employees themselves can contribute, and anybody can contribute.
And we could get that information off your all's, that's not a website, excuse me.
If somebody wanted to contribute to it, they just email.
They can email us at cosemployeefoundation@outlook.com, and we will tell them how.
Any other questions from the council?
That's a good idea. Appreciate you putting that.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Roger, do you mind mentioning just who's on the board right now?
I was just fixing to
Okay,
say,
there you go.
it's not all my brainchild, but Ms. Gordon is on the board. Treasurer Mr. Nair is on the board. Retired member Todd Myers is on the board, and the fire chief, who was giving me a hard time about taking enough time, he's on the board too.
Thank you all so much for your effort
Yes,
toward
sir.
this. This is a great thing. All right, item number 6, status report of salary and wage adjustments for the 2026 budget. Internally, we've been working on this for quite some time. I want to thank Kim for her tremendous amount of hours that she's put into this, and Jason as well. We have a full wage and salary spreadsheet that we've put together. We've met with Mrs. Hale, and so that's being reviewed. We have another meeting tomorrow after that meeting, then we will then meet with our department heads to go over that for their various departments, and then we will have that ready to look at along with the 2026 budget. So we're right there right now. We're just down to the refinement status. So.
That's pretty awesome. So Jason, thank you for your work, and Kim, thank you for yours.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much. All right. Next up, we tried to bunch these together, so Richard, just settle in. We got several.
Stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
Try to knock off
Oh
a few.
my goodness.
Yeah. Item number 7, the My Cersei project updates.
Good evening, everybody. So I got a lot of stuff to update everybody on. So Riverside Park, first, we have turned in 30% completion set drawings to RDOT to begin the review process with them. This is on our grant-funded project, the RTP motorized grant. That's improvements down at the boat ramp. The drawings for these are very cool. I think the city's going to be super excited. At some point in time, I need to get them so we can share them, but they just kind of are hot off the press right now. But just briefly kind of describe it is down by the boat ramp is the idea up on the high side is to create some ADA parking spots in an area where we could do a restroom. I think the idea right now and the cost estimate is doing one of those, I can't remember the term for it, but it's basically like one of these just drop-in place type bathrooms that are have the vents and stuff that you see sometimes in some of these types of areas, and then potentially in the future if we had the funding to build a bathroom down there. But it's got a kind of a screened wall that makes it look nice, and then there's a boardwalk that runs down that side of the ramp into like this what they're calling a portal. And if anybody are familiar with that area, there's a trailhead right there at the base of the ramp that'll go to the bottom of the bluffs. And so they're creating this portal, and it's just an architectural feature that you would walk through to kind of enter into the trail system to get to the bluffs. It's very cool. And it cuts across onto the bank where they're going to armor the bank is how they're terming it, where they'll put some constructed materials on the bank of it and create some dockside or some bankside fishing opportunities that are ADA accessible, as well as some entry points into the water right there. So yeah, it's very cool, and it's very creative and super exciting. And as soon as I get some good images to share, I'm happy to share with those. So we turned in a 30% set to RDOT on that. Also, they presented me with the construction, the final construction timelines for both those drawings as well as our master plan that they're working towards. The master plan is the one that's going to lay us out design-wise the projects moving forward. So what they're going to use our bond funds for this next phase, as well as what we could potentially fund in the future phases. So that, both of those, the construction drawings for the ramp and then the master plan should be done in January by the end of the year, or right around the beginning of the year. So really excited there. And then our trail builder, by that time we will know a pretty good amount of what we're going to spend on our trails. Our trail builder is supposed to present us the first round of the trail design probably next week to get comments on. But what we really want to do is to get him out there and start building trails while they're finishing up these plans. And I said that'll set the amount for the trails that we can reduce our $5 million off to see how much more of the rest of that master plan we can do. So super exciting. There's been a lot of good movement out there here just recently. The Little Red Greenway connections. So we submitted those to RDOT to begin the permitting process for the tunnels. One potential change, the tunnel that's going under BB Caps, if you remember we talked about that one, where it would go under BB Caps and come up around Casa Brava, between Casa Brava and the North Star where the bike trail is. The surveyors were out doing some survey work on the South Main property, Crafton Toll folks, and they went over there to verify some things because they had an idea, and they found that there is clearance to be able to construct a path under the bridge just down from that. So they just completed a project in Conway that's a similar type of deal. They've used a bridge, they kind of shore up one side of the embankment, making this kind of a wall, and then do a path that goes under the bridge, which could be some potential, quite a bit of savings instead of having to actually tunnel to achieve the same goal. So they're working up the design on it just to see what the cost might be and see if there's any savings on that. So excited to see what that might turn out, because that's just maybe some more dollars we can put somewhere else. So that's an exciting deal. And then the South Main project. So construction is underway in earnest, and it's kind of hard to see from the road. I've driven by it many times, and I'm like, get a little disappointed. Well, I was out there, I guess, Tuesday for the first time. The superintendent called me out there to talk about a couple of trees that they were kind of on the edge of where they were wanting to take trees down, and wanted to know if we wanted to try to keep them or what. And when you get back in there, they've cleared like a lot of area on where the community center site is, and started really moving some dirt, and they set the corners for the building corners. And so you really, this is the first time that you're able to actually lay eyes on the scale of this building. And so it's pretty awesome. And so I told the superintendent I'm apologizing right now, because I probably will just show up and just sit there and watch dirt being moved, because it's an exciting thing to go out there and just watch it happen. So that's really exciting. They'll start putting the fence up, construction fence up anytime around the swim center area where the aquatic center is going to go. And I think I've told y'all before, they're going to try to get the pad done for the building as well as the pad done for the aquatics by November. And then they're going to kind of pull off of the aquatic side, focus on the community center side. So there might be a good time period where that project's just sitting with a construction fence and a pad built over by the aquatics. So just in case we get any questions that we've run out of money and we can't do that, it's just, there's some timing issues. They're trying to contemplate hitting the opening date of the aquatics portion at the time we can use it, so Memorial Day 27th. So it'll be some movement there, and then it'll kind of stall on that side as we start moving to the community center side. We should be getting our final GMP number here in a couple of weeks. The bids are starting to come back. They're starting to compile them. We're going to have another little package we'll release to begin some construction on. But everything that I am hearing from our construction team is that the numbers are looking really good, and that it is tracking in the right direction. So that makes me super hopeful and optimistic when we get that GMP number, that we're going to be all excited. And then finally on that one, so the mayor and I have discussed this a little bit.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What's GMP?
Oh, I'm sorry. I always say GMP. That's the guaranteed max price. So that's the price the contractor will set, that it can't go over. That is our construction amount. And so the mayor and I discussed this, that we would really like to, through the construction process of the South Main projects especially, we would like to schedule some regular meetings with the council to take on tours during the construction process. So I'm going to meet with the superintendent out there to kind of find out when good kind of milestone timelines would be to get everybody out to kind of walk through the project and ask questions of the contractors and just kind of walk through and be a part of that construction process. So we just wanted to let you know that that's something that we've been thinking about, and we want to make sure that you guys are there. But in the meantime, if you want to go out there, you want to call me, I'll take you out there. We'll get in touch with the superintendent. He knows I'm going to bug him all the time, and that's fine. So if you want to go out there in the meantime, just give me a holler, and we can go out there together. So
And wear your boots.
wear your boots. That's right. Right now it's just mud. And like I said, here a lot of the trees and stuff, they're not clearing on the edges, so it's still going to be kind of tough to see from the road for now until they start doing some more clearing. But once you get in there, you'll see that they're really moving right now. That's exciting to see. Before I go on to Berry Hill, does anybody have any questions on those three projects?
So I'll just reiterate, you said pads should be poured for both the community centers and the aquatics in November. Then the aquatic side is gonna hold for a while they're working on the community
We'll
center
start
side.
vertical on the community
So,
center.
yeah.
Construction going up on the buildings.
Okay, good deal.
So if you don't mind, Mayor, we'll go ahead and kind of transition into item number 8, if that's okay with you and the council, about Berry Hill. I'll give the Berry Hill update and transition into the 8 with Mr. Davidson here. So Berry Hill Park, construction progressing, like still going great. We haven't had any major hiccups. Timeline's doing really well. We should be opening the parking lot along Davis to the public by the first of the week, correct? And so that's great. That is in time for, we have a tennis tournament coming up next week, so those folks should be able to use the brand new parking lot that one little area, and it's just a parking lot. Hart's crew is getting really close to finishing all their flat work in that area and over by the playground. And then they're gonna hand it over to RJR, our playground folks, and they're gonna start the construction of the splash pad and the playground. And Hart's crews are gonna move over to the north side of the courts, and then construct that second parking lot. If you saw also off of Moore, there's that new parking lot. That one's gonna be closed while the construction of the splash pad's going on. They're gonna keep that closed, but it is pretty much completed as well. But there's gonna be a mirrored one pretty much on the other side of the park in front of, or on the north side of those courts. So they'll be working on that, and the remainder of the trail on that side. And then I think that is what I've got, so.
Richard, real quick, there's a question that we get a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with the Berry Hill project, Holiday of Lights. I know people are concerned about the light features and the tree and all that. Can you address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you kind of look out there right now, there's like a big pile of pallets and stuff in the middle where all of our lights are going. That's the playground equipment. So it's actually getting moved, I believe, if this week, if not next week, but I believe it was this week, they were gonna move those pallets closer to where the construction is gonna happen for the playground. And so, all of the construction fencing is gonna get moved to the outside of all of our receptacles. So Jeff's team was out there, with us looking to see where all of those plugins are to make sure that the construction fencing is, we have access to all of that. So it should be just like normal, so. And then Bear, I've invited Bear up. There's some things that have come up that are some additional improvements that we would like the council to consider. Bear's got a list of those. I'm gonna let him walk you through it, but you're welcome to ask me questions as well. Can I move this for a second? Sorry. Thanks, Richard. Speak along. Oh, wait, I wanna put this on.
Yeah, Richard's got some stuff he'll pull up on the screen to help me out here. Thanks, Mayor. Every other week, every other Monday, we have a meeting on site at Berry Hill with city personnel, Hart Construction, and myself and some other members of our team on the design team. And a few things have come up during those meetings and other discussions during construction. Out of those, there's 3 additions that I'll present to you tonight for consideration. None of these are imperative for us to complete the project as a whole. If the sentiment of the council is to not proceed with any of these, we'll still get to complete the project as designed initially, and it'll still be a really great project for the city when it's completed. But we do feel like these are 3 good adds, so we wanted to present them to you for consideration. Certainly, when Richard and I were talking through these, wasn't our place to say that we should add them, but also we didn't want to be the ones to say that we shouldn't. So we're just putting these before you to discuss and decide if you'd like us to pursue them further. I'll try to talk about each one, how they came about, what they include, and how much they cost briefly. The first is some additional conduit, wiring, and receptacles that would be used for Holiday of Lights. So this is our utility plan. It's a little hard to see, but around the perimeter of the park, there's a red line with some red dots. Those represent some new 15-foot tall pedestrian lighting. They're black, wrought iron looking lights around the new walking trail. During one of our on-site meetings, it was asked by some city personnel, can these be used for additional lighting features associated with Holiday of Lights? And the answer was maybe. They aren't wired for that as designed, but it's a good idea, we thought, and what it would take would be an add of a receptacle to every other one of those lights and a new circuit of wiring that would allow the actual pedestrian lights to be shut off during Christmas time and something else to be lit up, some holiday type lighting around them. So I wanted to present that for consideration. The added cost for that is $12,030 for the additional conduit wiring and the receptacles. We'll have, as I said, the pedestrian lights will be there regardless. These are just the added ability to use them to add more lights for holiday lights. So that's the first one. The second in our, how do I do this, Richard? Maybe? Yeah. All right. One more. Berry Hill Park a couple years ago during the master plan process. Around the proposed splash pad, they had shown a pergola. You can go to the next slide, Richard. We had omitted that from the original design plans for this project due to trying to make sure we were staying within our budget. This was before the bid that we took it out, but we did show a placeholder on the plans for a future location, right on the north side of the splash pad. I'll point at it, if that's okay. So here it's 55 foot wide. We could do this in the future, but Hart is moving to pour that concrete here in the next few weeks, and it was asked, should we set up for that now? In that discussion, Richard and I decided to ask RJR, who's providing the construction equipment, how much that pergola would cost to install. It's provided by RJR, and the cost was $105,940. Here's some details. It's 50.
Where is this purpose to provide shade, or what's its real purpose for?
Mostly shade, but also just aesthetics. It's going to be a really nice looking splash pad with or without it. But this will be on the north side. It's 55 feet long by about 10 feet wide, so it would offer some shade for moms standing around while kids play. And the splash pad also just looks sharp, Mr. Morris. So
It's kind of the definition, or it kind of defines the entry into the splash pad from the parking lot. So it kind of just defines that front face entryway into that was the intention of it in the master plan, so.
So the cost for that structure, it's a steel structure, it'd be powder coated, some natural color. $105,940. This can be added later. It was just asked during the, as we move towards the paving in that area, if it's something we wanted to consider now.
And I understand it was just simply omitted from the original project plan, is that correct?
Yeah, when we were working on the plans, Mr. Morris, we knew we were trying to land somewhere around $3 million, and we felt like we were approaching that. So this got cut from this year's project in the initial plans, and that was the reason. We didn't know our number yet. We hadn't opened bids or anything yet when that decision was made.
Mayor, if it was to be added later, would that disrupt the use of the splash pad? Would it mess up the area?
For a time. I mean, temporarily. Mostly just access is easiest now while the world's kind of torn up out there. You know, it would, if we did it later, Mayor, I think there would be some, not major, but some additional costs in just demolishing some of the pavement to pour the footers for this. So the cost may increase slightly later, probably not terribly, if that makes sense.
Mr. Davidson, I may be missing it. What are the dimensions of the pergola?
Back up one for me, Richard. There's two options in here. The 55-foot one is the one that fit with our site plan. There you go. 55-foot wide, Mr. Kirkman, by 10 foot in width. And it's about 11 feet tall.
So that pergola, it will not have a cover on top of it. It'll simply be the bar, the metal.
Yeah,
Some pergolas have a top and some don't.
Yeah, it's not a solid top.
It's not a solid top. It
Okay.
will provide a little bit of, like, kind of that filtered shade, as the sun, gets a little bit lower, it'll provide a little bit more shade, but.
What's underneath? What's on the ground?
Concrete.
It's the concrete.
I think it'd be a place you'd want to stand on a sunny day, Mr. Kirkman, not when it's raining though. It wouldn't keep you dry in the rain. It's not solid.
It's right here into this concrete, so
Okay.
this is it, the outline that's right here. So this is the main entrance into the splash pad, so like I said, it's kind of that entryway into the splash pad area.
Mr. Davidson, what is it constructed out of? What kind of material?
Steel.
Wood?
Steel.
Steel, it is steel.
Yes, sir. Powder coated steel.
So it should.
They do have a wood option, the same company, Mr. Morris, but for just durability and I think.
Powder coated, it should be maintenance free for several years.
Yes, sir, that's right. All right, and the last of these, the tennis community has a temporary structure out there on site right now that they're using for storage. And it was asked early on, right after the bid really on this, by some of those members of that community, if there was any means to add a permanent structure for storage, small. When we started discussing it, it came to light that some of the Parks Department staff also desired some storage on site for lawn equipment and maybe in the future for some potential mowers or side-by-side, some small lawn equipment.
Can I interrupt her real quick?
Please.
Because city staff were using the concession stand, right? And now we have a concession stand that's in operation, so that space is no longer available for storage.
That's right. So we produced a sketch, and with Hart Construction being under contract, we asked them what type of change order would come from the addition of this structure. It'd be a brick structure with a metal roof, 12 foot by 22 foot. About 75% of that would be storage for Parks Department, 25% for tennis items, nets,
Maybe ball baskets.
ball baskets, things of that nature that the tennis folks use during tournaments. So the cost of that, it's presented by Hart, $117,400. So in summary, our current cost of the Berry Hill project is $3.12 million. The sum of these additions would change that to 3.35. They can be considered independently or altogether or not at all. Just wanted to present those to you for discussion. Try to answer any questions if you have more.
Mr. Davidson, or maybe Mr. Stafford, I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse or get this discussion muddy for tonight, but at what point, I'm just kind of brainstorming, if we are getting past the point of, you know, beyond the, but I like these kind of extra things. I think it really helps finish it off, but, and I know Mr. Cardle's involved in this, at what point do we get this, and there may be some discussion, I'm not aware of on this, what, we get to the point where we start thinking about corporate foundation support, individual family naming opportunities, those types of things. I would think of something like that, having worked in fundraising early in my career, things like that have a visible area. They're good naming opportunities, but I know aesthetically or architecturally, sometimes they can take away from.
Yeah, Mr. Kirkman, that's actually a really great question, and one of the reasons we actually did pull the arbor out, the pergola out, was we thought that that could be something we could potentially fundraise for. That's why we ended up taking it out. We were trying to get in budget. Maybe it was something we could fundraise for. We had talked about, at one point in time, about maybe doing like a brick project like the library, and then the reality kind of set in of the brick project didn't raise the funds that would equal the amount of the pergola itself. And so it is still an opportunity to think through. It's for sure not a have-to-have. That's why we're just presenting it to y'all just to discuss. But it is something that could potentially pursue that Mr. Cardle is looking into doing those types of things. We have a good dollar amount for it. We know how much it is. The timing is a little bit critical on, they're working on the flat work, on the concrete work in that area right now. And so once that's forward, then it would be coming in and tearing some things out to put back in. But, so that's really why we were bringing it to y'all, just to discuss and see if it's something that y'all would want to potentially fund. But it's definitely something we could look at potentially raising money for if we wanted to.
This is a steel building, red iron steel building, is that correct?
No, this maintenance building would be stick built, so lumber with a brick exterior and a metal roof.
What square foot is this running to construct?
12 by 22.
I did the math on that, Mr. Morris. The number doesn't sound good when a building's that small, unfortunately. It's like $300 and some odd dollars per square foot, which sounds crazy. Most commercial construction, I think, is going between $200 and $300 right now. But you have the same, you have metal roof, you've got electricity to it, you have a lot of the same subs working, it's just a smaller footprint, so your cost per square foot is not great.
Heating, cooled?
No, sir.
It did have some power upgrades. I do believe that there was some power that we were running to it, so they could have some charging ability to charge. The maintenance folks could have some ability to charge some equipment that they have that are battery powered. So we made sure that there was enough of power in it as well. So it does have a large roll-up door, which contributed some to that number as well. So.
Per square foot building, how does this compare to residential building here in Searcy?
Well, I'm probably getting outside of my scope, but I think residential building right now, I listen to conversations, 160 to 200, 180, I'm not sure. So it's higher than that, but it's because it's such a small footprint, I believe, is why.
So, Mr. Davidson and Mr. Stafford, did y'all include Parks and Rec and maintenance in this discussion for this building?
Yes, Will Walker was super helpful in the dimensions. He kind of sketched out with us the equipment they use currently, the equipment that they'd like to use in the future if the park continues to see increased usage, which we think it will because of the upgrades.
Yeah, this was one of our update meetings. Will and Jeff, I believe, was there along with the Parks team, talking about it, talking through it, talking about needs, and if we're gonna present something, we wanna make sure that it provides everybody's needs.
Sure.
And so, yeah, they definitely were involved.
Bear, real quick side note on this, you mentioned brick exterior. You wanna go ahead and just update on the overall project, the painted brick portion of the project? Cause I would assume that would fall within this to match it.
So when we built the improvements to Burial Park, the tennis and pickleball courts and the concession stand, we matched and honestly didn't love that we were matching, but we were matching that brick pony wall that was out there because we weren't sure about its future and we didn't want bricks out there that did not match. Well, as you know, that brick pony wall is no longer there. And so part of this project is to try to tie all of the kind of hodgepodge of color schemes out there together. So the concession building and the retaining walls around it are to be painted as part of this project currently. It's currently part of the contract. The restrooms on the east side are to be painted as well to match that. And this building would also be painted the same. So we want to tie with natural hues some of what you see at Pyatt Plaza, the grays and tans, tile that together so that it looks.
Just didn't want any surprises that we had a red brick building and all of a sudden now it's a painted brick.
Thanks for bringing that up. They're about to start priming it, and so people would probably have been asking what's going on.
There's a new retaining wall out there by the splash pad as well that's gonna be stone, and so trying to match those colors as well is part of the paint.
Well, I love the idea of for the holiday lights. I think that's a great idea. And I also think it's important for us to have maintenance storage. If we're gonna make these improvements, we need stuff out there for them to keep it looking nice.
Richard, can you go back to that master plan shot?
Yeah. That was the one that was giving me there you go.
So everything west of the creek on the hilltop where the old pool was, those got shelved for budgetary concerns.
We knew pretty early that 3 million wasn't gonna get us up the hill.
Yeah.
Or across the creek.
Did we get as far as knowing what that would cost, that little section of West Creek?
Bear started laying it out in his CAD programs and started pulling square footages, but I don't know if we ever put a dollar to it.
Yeah, I think we kind of had 2 iterations of cost estimation. The first one included that, and we were getting close to 3 million on the east side of the creek, so we have a detailed cost estimate for the east side once we narrow it down. So we have some early rough stuff, but nothing really buttoned up yet on the west side.
You have any idea ballpark?
Oh, boy.
I won't hold you to it.
That's a dangerous question. I don't,
I
Mr.
mean, was it
Kirkman.
$1 million or was it $100,000 or?
I don't think it
I
was.
won't hold you to it.
Yeah, I don't think it was 3 million again. I think it was a 7-figure number. I would say somewhere between 1 and 3. That's a huge.
And Bear, can you just describe like the features that are on that side real quickly?
A whole lot of concrete paving. That's the cost driver because we've got a food truck court, new parking,
Yard
games, which would have hard surfacing, a boardwalk that goes along the creek. So most of that money is in concrete, so it's largely paving and landscaping on the west side. Did I answer the question? I forgot. Sorry
And it's
about
conceptual, right? At this point, it's still conceptual.
But there's an extra cost to doing that, and that's moving the childcare.
That's right, the building is, that's right, this does not take into consideration the building that's there.
Yeah, I was assuming that was moved, Mr. Rainey, that's right.
I like all of this except 235 days.
Right.
I'm like Ms. Hale, I really like the electrical stuff. I think we'd be foolish if we don't do that, since we do a lot of our holiday lights out there. And the storage building is, I think, really essential. I think it's pricey, but I think it's essential. The pergola would look great, in my opinion, as an entryway to the splash pad, but is it necessary at this point? I don't know. I want to think about it from now till Tuesday night.
So that's why we wanted to bring it to you. It's kind of one of those things, we thought the same thing. It's, and Berry Hill always intended to be in phases. We're already looking at some potential things we might be able to budget just in our budget numbers for next year about maybe replacing that bridge over to the parking, redoing the bathroom. We've started kind of putting some costs together on
The old bathroom.
the interior. Yeah, I'm sorry, the old bathroom, on doing the exterior facade, like redoing that exterior facade of the old bathroom and redoing the inside of it, because it's, when all this nice stuff comes out, that thing is not gonna look great, we're just gonna say that. Over by the splash pad, you know, you're gonna have this awesome splash pad, and then right there is gonna be that ugly little bathroom. So we've started asking around and trying to put some prices together that maybe it's something we could budget into our just regular budget for next year to do that, and then potentially the bridge, a new bridge to get you up the hill, at least to the parking lot where we can use that parking lot. So it, you know, it could be something like that as we add into next year's budget, for the pergola as well, in that phase, if we wanted to, or if we wanted to look at an option of trying to raise some money for it, I understand that too. But it's just something we wanted y'all to think about.
Just trying to drag this out. I was at a food court recently in another city, and I was talking to the gentleman that, I don't know if he owned it, or I think it was a private type of deal that he was renting space on. But he basically had grass, and he had, it was kind of like a gray gravel, smaller, it wasn't like pea gravel, but it was like a solid colored gray gravel built in. He was saying at some point he was gonna come back and concrete it. Does that save much money?
Yeah, so that's probably like a decomposed granite,
I think that's what he said, yeah.
which actually is what we're gonna have some of that around the playground.
Okay.
In between the trees out here, going through the playground, the paths will all be DG, all that DG. But yeah, it's kind of a compacted, and it's still accessible because it's so compacted, but, it's not as expensive as concrete, but it's an expensive aggregate, I should say. It's
Probably
a little
has
more
some, I
expensive.
guess it has some ADA limitations as well.
No, it's actually, if it's compacted well, because it's so fine and it's
Okay.
angular, it locks, that it actually adhered, it's a ADA accepted.
On this first phase, on that western portion that Mr. Carter was talking about, so we will have some parking up there?
Yes,
There-
sir, yeah.
Right away, that'll be,
There's parking there.
There's a parking lot up on that west side right now, and there's quite a bit of spaces. It's just tough to get the bridge going
The
across.
bridge, that's
It's
right.
not great.
It does
We
not
did-
need ADA.
And it does not meet ADA. But we did some improvements, if you remember, to it, a year or two ago, to make it safe at least. But if we thought, because the little circle roundabout type thing, that actually is going in this phase. And so if we had a nice bridge that pointed up there that people could access that parking lot at least, that would give us a lot more space, especially for the courts when tournaments are going on. So
how many, remind me how many parking spots we picked up in this design? You have any idea?
Oh, I didn't.
It
Yeah, I
was
think it was 40
40%
something.
more.
Yeah.
Okay, good, that's good.
I think we went from like just under 100 to like 142, or those are close. But somewhere.
something in that.
That's good.
It was quite a few.
Richard, you just talked about a circle drive or something about a minute ago.
Yeah.
What is that you're,
Yeah,
Is
over between the courts and that west.
It's pedestrian bike. It's not for vehicles.
oh, okay.
That's just it's kind of one of those future, it'll make more sense when everything else gets done.
Okay.
It's a landing spot as you come down that bridge, it's kind of this hub into the courts to kind of
Okay.
bring you in from that side. So at this point, it just is gonna look like a roundabout in the sidewalk path.
Okay.
But once that bridge is built, it's gonna look really cool as a connector up to across the creek.
And did I hear something about, you think the stuff up on the hill might be ADA accessible down to the rest of the park?
Once those parking improvements are done up the hill, it will not be right now, Mr.
Right,
Schindler.
yeah.
Yeah, if we were able to put a new bridge in, we think you might be might have to do some switchbacking up a little steep part of the hill to that parking lot. I think it's possible to get it ADA compliant.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the purposes of tonight and then moving toward Tuesday, what is needed? What does the council want, I guess, as far as moving an agenda item forward or not?
I'm ready to move it to an agenda meeting. I'm just not saying I'm ready to vote for everything.
Okay. Okay, so this will move forward and then on Tuesday, further discussion? Okay, great.
And the request on this would be to pay out of our general funds, in addition to the bond funds.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Richard, you're still a quick update on the raise grant.
Yeah, actually, I have some, I have not just fun news with the raise grant, I've got, a couple of other grant news, exciting things. So, Debbie just texted me right before I came over here, but first things first, the raise grant, our contract is signed. We are under contract with the federal government for the raise grant. It is happening. So we're a go, which is exciting. That's the $4.2 million one.
And it's to be used for what?
That is to develop the design construction drawings to build 21 miles of trail and side path throughout the city. On top of a lot of regulatory updates, so updating zoning code, updating land use plan, updating master street plan, wayfinding master plan. There's a lot.
Tremendous value.
A ton of value in this. We're gonna get a lot out of it. So we got the contract signed just a couple weeks ago or last week, and we are a go. So coming up here, one of my next ones is an RFQ for the SS4A. Our plan is to bring the same package next month to you all to go ahead and put out RFQs to start work on the raise grant. So it's exciting, big time.
Big deal.
You said 21 miles, is that what?
21 miles, yes, sir. The other thing, late yesterday afternoon, Mr. Davidson texted us a grant that he helped us work on. This was the RTP. We talked about the RTP motorized, which is the one at Riverside Park. There's a regular RTP grant, which is Recreational Trails Program. We've applied for this one, I think, 3 times, and we think we failed all 3 times. We got it this time. And so what this one is, this is a $500,000 grant. This is an RDOT grant, and this would construct a paved trail from the connection of the bike trail, Searcy Bike Trail, just south of the old sewer ponds, north to Riverside Park. So this makes our connection from the bike trail to Riverside Park, around the sewer ponds, up to alongside Davis Drive.
This is one of the most important connections.
This is a huge connection piece that you can now, once the tunnels are done, that's connected. You could ride, walk, whatever, travel from the community center all the way to Riverside Park by a separated trail, and then not having to cross any major highway. There'd be some local roads you'd still have to cross, but that's huge. This one, and to be quite honest, this one we're like, we're not getting this one. We've been turned down so many times, and actually we applied for the same trail the previous year and they turned us down. So yeah, persistence, it pays off. So that's a $500,000 one, and we're really excited about that one. I was super pumped about that one. So shout out to Bear, helped us on that one, coming up with the cost estimates. So, and then the other one was, Debbie wanted me to go ahead and share, since I was sharing that. We actually were notified as well that we received the $83,000 STOP grant to pay for the domestic violence investigators from the PD. It's a renewal, but still we got a renewal of $83,000, so that's great too. So yeah, grants, we're going good. We're doing well. So that's all I got on that, right? What are we on next?
Yes, sir. Next is item number 10. Congratulations, that's great news on the grants, by the way. That's how we're able to accomplish more faster, is because we're getting funding from multiple sources. Item number 10, request to waive building permit fees for Searcy School's ag building to construct additional improvements along the North Ella Street.
So this was kind of something I kind of came up with in just some thinking through some of the sidewalk improvements we're trying to do around the school. And just, we have a great relationship with our school. They are in the process, they submitted some drawings to us to build this new ag center that y'all are familiar with. Just north of the bus parking and all that new, that is a multi-building agricultural center. Modus, our folks that are at Riverside Park, they are designing this, and it is a really cool looking facility. But in those discussions, one of our things that we require, as you all know, is half street improvements, and that would be them putting a curb basically from that drive on the southern part where they're starting up to that magenta line. They were required to widen that section of the road, put a curb, put a sidewalk, and then the drainage infrastructure improvements. And so I just had the idea, is since it's not required required, what would they be potentially interested in if we had the authority to maybe waive the building permit fees? Would they consider constructing it all the way to Ella? And then Mr. Lane and I have talked about with our street department crews potentially going sidewalk down Audley Bolton all the way to the neighborhood. That area is relatively flat, there's already curb there. It would be probably something our street department could do, and it's something we could maybe just work into the budget. This is it's about on the same timeline as our community center project is, so we got some time to do that. And so I presented the idea to Dr. Hart and a few other superintendent folks, with, hey, would you all be interested in doing this? And if so, I will happily like to take this recommendation to the city council to see if they would approve something like that. They were excited about the idea. They thought it was good. They knew it would benefit their students. The dollar amount actually kind of figures the whole Half Street improvement itself from the corner all the way up to Audley Bolton was in the hundreds, just under 100 or just over 100,000, I think, total. The building permit's about $47,000 for the project, so it would pretty much cover half of that. So that's what we're here to ask tonight is would the council be willing to waive the school's building permit fee for them to go ahead and construct not just the sidewalk, but it would be the full Half Street improvement. And there's several drainage structures and curb and the sidewalk all the way down to Audley Bolton.
So we're gonna waive a permit fee of about $47,000 to get $100,000 worth of work?
Well, total 100,000 from what they're required to do, plus the additional is a total 100, so it's about 50. It's about,
Okay.
it's about, works out about even.
Okay.
But it's a benefit to the school, it's a benefit to the community both,
Yes,
especially making that turn into the neighborhood.
right.
Yeah,
And we're getting a little bit closer to the bike trail,
right.
which is great.
Mr. Stafford, before your time employment with the city, but have we customarily waived fees for building for school projects, public school projects?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of. They pay the building fee for their arena and all the other projects. And the only reason that I was bringing this to you all and just thought of that was a trade.
Right.
So
Good trade.
It's not just us waiving their fee, just to waive their fee. It's getting something in return for it.
Personally, I'd like to see us do it, and being the grandfather of the current vice president of the local FFA chapter, I would be run out of town if I didn't support it. But I think it's a good trade-off. I'd like to see us move it forward.
I think it's a good idea too. Good job.
I do as well, good job.
I do too.
All right, moving that one forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're not off the hook yet, Richard.
One more, right?
One more. Item number 11, request for authorization to advertise an RFQ for professional services to develop a safety action plan with SS4A grant funds.
What's SS4A?
I'm going to tell you. This is our Safe Streets for All grant. This is that other federal grant that we received. It's around $500,000 total. I think it's a 400 to 100. They're giving us 400. We get 100 to complete a safety action plan. As I told you when we got this initially, this was actually one that Mrs. Hale brought to my attention years ago. And so I researched it, and the first thing you want to do is if you want to build a project, you have to have a safety action plan in order to submit for a capital project. And so by that time Debbie was here, we started researching, and they basically told us, it's like, apply for a planning grant, you're probably going to get it. So we got it. So anyways, we got that, our contracts are signed, we are greenlit to go. And so this is actually our first use of our new RFQ procedural process. So part of that process was to present you all the kind of the timeline of everything and the packets that we're going to send out. So that first outline just kind of outlines the actual project overview. So this safety action plan, we're going to request qualifications for planning services to complete this comprehensive safety action plan. The publication date, if it's approved, if you all approve the RFQ notice, we will advertise on the 19th of October and then again on the 26th of October. The deadlines for the SOQs then would be a few weeks after that, allow people to put them together. That would be on the November 14th. Right now, our selection committee that we have listed is the mayor, Mr. Moore, myself, Mr. Lane, Debbie Smith, our grants coordinator, she was involved in the grant, and Gabrielle, you're our planning administrator, and then one of the council representatives, whoever would like to step up and serve on that. The rest of it is the packet. It talks about our project schedule as we went through the advertising. The SOQs would be due on the 14th. On the 18th, our committee would go over and rank according to the rubrics. And we would do a short list of 3 that we would then invite to interview. That would happen in the around the November 19th through the 3rd at that point in time, and hopefully have our recommendation to the council on the 4th, and then council's decision on December 9th to move forward with the mayor being able to negotiate a contract with our selection. And the rest of this is our legal notice that we will run in the paper for those 2 weeks. And then what the SOQ requirements, what the scope of the work is, what we want to see in the SOQ, and then this is our evaluation rubrics. So there's 2 for each. There's 2 for the SOQ itself that we will rank, and then we have an interview rubric, and that's how we will rank the folks as we interview them and look at the SOQs with those points, apply those points, and then see who has the most points. And then the rest of it is just some general terms and conditions. So.
Okay, so for tonight, you're just requesting authorization to advertise the RFQ.
Yep, and then you can decide tonight which one of y'all would like to, or you can wait till Tuesday, but we will need a member of the council to join the selection committee to make it an odd 7.
I'll nominate Brett Kirkman.
You're supposed to nominate people that aren't here.
Brett, do you accept the nomination?
Wow, it's just the new guy? Must be a new guy.
Here's your project schedule, just in case you need to see that, yeah.
That's fine, I'll be glad to help.
Okay, thank you. You're good to move that forward? Okay, thank you, Richard.
Yep.
I think you're off the hook now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 12, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board reappointments. You should have the list in your packets. I'll read it. The recommendations from Philip Hayes, the chair of the Searcy Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, are to reappoint 3 current members whose terms are set to expire in November. Those individuals are Jana Miller, Bill Ford, and Nathan Rutledge.
Move it forward.
Thank you. Item number 13, discussion and approval of Parks and Recreation software program, Civic Rec. Mike?
So this has been many months of interviewing software companies and trying to figure out what we want to do moving forward for the Parks and Rec department as a whole, especially all the facilities we're going to be getting here in the next couple of years. So our recommendation is Civic Rec. They're kind of the Cadillac of everybody. Did multiple interviews with 4 different software companies, just reaching out to other communities and see whom they use. I have the money, I'm not asking for money, I'm just asking for you all to give the mayor permission to sign the agreement for us to move forward with this. And if we get that permission, we're hoping to be live January 1 with all the training and everything implemented. Mr. Gifford sat in our last one and asked any IT question he wanted. He was satisfied.
Mike, real quick, just
Yes.
give a quick nutshell of what all it does.
Sure. So you don't have to come to the Carmichael anymore and sign your kid up for ball, and you don't have to come and rent a room. You can do everything online. It syncs to the calendars on your phone, so if you have kids that play different sports, all their schedules go to your phone. If there's a rain out, you get notified, it takes it off your calendar. If you want to buy a membership for the new community center, you can do it on there. You can set up your own account.
The Square systems we have everywhere now, it's all just one central system.
Yes, it'll be gone. And so you could get you can sign up for a swim lesson, rent a room at the Carmichael, book a pavilion, and get a membership for the pool or the new community center all at one time.
Syncs up to Encode.
Yes, and yes, it does.
Okay.
And we'll work with Jason and it does 50+ different reports, anything we want it to do. And we will get a personal representative assigned just to Searcy in case we have any issues. And they already gave us a prelim schedule of how to get us live by January 1. Like I said, I already have the money, it's already been budgeted.
How
But
much?
the mayor does have to sign an agreement.
I'm glad we already had the money budgeted, but how much are we talking about?
For the first year, you're looking almost 20,000 because we have to buy the terminals. IT is gonna take care of the other parts of the screens and everything we're gonna need. And then after that, it goes to about 18,000.
That's reoccurring every year.
Yes, sir.
So you'll be able to rent a room on this site, use your credit card,
Yes,
pay
sir.
for it? Okay.
Something we've been lacking for a very long time.
Mr. Parsons, do you
Yes,
know
sir.
if we can negotiate any kind of out terms on that deal in case it doesn't go as well as you?
Not for the first year, but I can
Just
look.
found in my experience, sometimes you get those software deals and
Sure.
it's
And,
really tough to get out of.
Their agreement should be in your packet. I sent those over. And I did not send them to Mr. Moore, but I will get him a copy for him to look over also.
Do you know what the out terms are? Do you know?
I
any
do not,
details
no,
on
sir.
it?
Everyone we've talked to has had no problems. They love this company. They're under the Civic Plus umbrella. And, I know Jason is looking into some of their, I think it's called Civic Clerk. And he would get a bundle package, so if he decided to go that route, his first year would be free. Since we're already using part of the software.
I've just been through situations where there's an acquisition or a company changes hands, or you get a private equity investment, and all of a sudden, you don't like the company anymore. I'm not saying it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely,
trying,
absolutely.
I'm glad we're doing this, I'm just wanting to, I like to think ahead on these things.
And it can be used for concessions, I mean, everything. We'll run through these.
My recommendation is we move it to Tuesday night, and then all of us can look at this document between now and then, see if we've got some concerns about getting out of it.
And if everyone's good Tuesday, Mr. Mayor, they will actually send you a link where you can just sign online.
Okay.
So we don't have to send any documents anywhere.
And this is one of 4 that y'all looked at, right?
I mean, it was enough for, we're doing our third round of interviews. We got done meeting, it was Damon, myself, and Mr. Gifford, and after our last interview on Tuesday, we're like, there's no, we're gonna cancel the rest of the interviews, we're done, this is what we want. And then we went to the mayor and asked to slide this on the agenda because it was a little late.
All right, let's move it on to Tuesday.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mike. Item number 14, an update on the ordinance draft for utility easement maintenance. Will? We have a draft that was,
provided back in June or July. I have not gotten any feedback on that, so either it's good or it's so bad we need to circle back.
so the draft of the ordinance is in your packets. I guess Will would just need if there's any feedback or notes on that, and then we can move it forward to.
I'd say move it forward to Tuesday, and maybe we'll all look at it again. Refresh our memory though, Will, you got a copy of some such ordinances from a few other towns and reviewed those, is that right?
I've slept since then, but it was not of my own making. I'll have to go back and look.
I thought one of the cities north of Little Rock, name escapes me, one that you were impressed with, if my memory is right, but it may not be.
The Arkansas code that allows us to fine utility companies for not maintaining, which was what sparked all this summer, was the dilapidation of equipment. So those are all cited in there. You can look that up. It gives us the right to issue fines.
Maumelle is the city I was talking about.
Yes. Now, I mean, it's only as good as our ability to enforce it, right? We've all had, I know Mark knows all about that. You don't always have control of the subcontractors and can't find them and those things. But we do have we are requiring them to have a permit if they're doing work now, so that certainly helps.
Can we put in there that AT&T can't use black duct tape to put their stuff back together?
I use the exact word that were found in the statute. I think black duct tape would fall under unreasonable. I got one, when you're on them, I got one falling apart in my yard too, to send them after.
My complaint with AT&T is, okay, they come in and put fiber, which is wonderful, okay? But all of those boxes behind everybody's house, down the streets and everything, if they're not gonna use them, why can't we tell them, take it out and level the ground? But at least put them back together and not have to use duct tape.
Well, doesn't the ordinance require them to return the land to the way they found it? I forget exact wording on that. So it's just a matter of actually enforcing it.
And and there's a difference in the public right of way. The franchise agreement governs their presence in the public right of way. Whereas if it's a backyard or something like that, that may not be a public right of way. That may be they may have a private easement or something there, which is.
Okay.
Well, they don't have a private easement, but most subdivisions have utility easements along the back lot line or side lot lines and everything.
We have the same thing in the front yards. I've got 7 boxes in my front yard. Only 3 of them are actually.
If they're in your front yard, I bet they're in the public right of way, because it'll come off the road a little bit.
But my kind of point is they only have use of those utility easements because the city agreed to accept a plat that dedicated that. But let's all look at it again and we'll take it up again Tuesday night.
Well, I have a question about, the ordinance under franchise fees. Did you take this from state, is this new language or old language? Specifically number 2, the fee calculated, will be calculated as a percentage of revenue collected and shall be paid monthly?
Yeah, that probably came out of the statute. I think that we can require how it's paid. And right now it's the Wild West. And we don't require anything. We just take money when they give it to us.
So this
And
is
so-
wildly coincidental, because I didn't know this was this was in the packet tonight, but I asked Jason earlier for a list of all of our franchise, all the people or entities that pay franchise fees and for year to date. And like Summit Gas is paid one time this year. And then Entergy's the same amount of money every time they pay. It can't be the same amount of energy.
They do theirs on, they calculate it annually and divide it by 12.
Okay.
So that's why you get the same price. The point is they're all over the place. I put
Yeah.
monthly in there. That's one of the edits was kind of soliciting, is like, we can say quarterly. You're never gonna be able to get everybody on the same schedule, and we have the right to audit them, but you're never gonna be able to do that if everybody's not following the same cadence, following the same procedures. This allows the rate at which we charge franchise fee to be the highest set by law, which is cited in there. But right now we don't exercise any authority or control over any of that.
Okay, so that's
We
moving
even
forward.
had some new ones, I think, at one point when we did this that weren't even paying.
All right, thank you, Will. Next up, item number 15, an update on the platted drainage easements. I know y'all have met
Yeah,
internally.
so, one change that has been already implemented is the dedication of an easement or to nowhere, or to no one, excuse me. So, Richard's group and the planning and development group are not accepting any more plats that, they can't just say drainage easement. They must say drainage easement to, and identify the party, who would be responsible. So if it's drainage easement to the city of Searcy, we have effectively accepted that easement and can maintain it for drainage purposes.
Are we gonna do that? Accept all these drainage easements?
Now, that would be moving forward, right?
If it's a subdivision and there's a drainage easement, I don't know. That's
something we probably should think through. I think one of the things that we had talked about, I think, a little bit is a lot of subdivisions just have drainage easements down every lot, right? But some of those are just for surface drainage, not really any sort of infrastructure involved in that. But some of them do have maybe some storm drain pipes or something. And so I think those would be very valid for us to make sure that we accept to make sure that they're properly working underground, or if anything happens, we can get on there and repair them, but.
And we did talk about that part of it, like, hey, if the developer files a preliminary plat that says
Right,
there's gonna be a pipe in the ground here, we don't accept anything until it's been built to the final plat.
To the
We did
final.
discuss that. Yeah.
right. So but the ones that don't have any sort of improvements, if it's not a constructed ditch or a underground drainage pipe, it just says a drainage easement, I don't know. Those are the good, I don't know questions, but
I mean, that's probably the first thing I should have said is there is no answer here. This is, especially on the historical stuff, I mean, that's gonna have to be handled on a case-by-case basis, 'cause
Well, I don't want us to get back into another Cloverdale situation. And if we're gonna accept it, then I think we gotta require the developer to do certain things.
Correct.
Then
That's what was my point, is Cloverdale's probably a good example of that's Mark's gonna know this more than me, but that's a big drainage structure that runs through that neighborhood, and I would imagine if Cloverdale was happening today, we would, that would probably an easement to us to maintain the drainage somehow, and it would be constructed up to Mark's standards then and maintained therefore, on.
Not only that, we're gonna have to require access to these places, because we've got now, we can't get to places where people call us and won't work done. There are fences, they've built, just right up to them, each backyard goes right to it. You've got a 10-foot strip, you can't even get in it to work in it, much less have enough width to work. So, there are a lot of things we need to look at here.
well, we just need to keep working on it, okay? Because like I said, I just don't want us to ever get back in that position again. And if we're gonna take responsibility from here on out, we ought to require them to build it to our standards that we can, as easily as possible, maintain for the future.
Thank you. All right, so there's nothing to move forward to Tuesday on that one, but we'll keep working toward it. Item number 16, discussion, city sales tax exemption for South Main and Riverside Park bond-funded projects. Will?
CDI came to us and asked if we would issue a sales tax exemption to ourselves on the bond projects. It would just be of the city portion of the sales tax, and it doesn't affect anybody's income or revenue other than the city's. We can waive our own sales tax, which, the result of which would be more of the bond money that was voted on by the citizens to go to bond projects, goes to bond projects. So certainly felt like that was something we needed to get before you guys for consideration.
The reality of it is either we're gonna pay it and put that in our budget, or we're gonna exempt ourselves and keep the money available to do the work, right?
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think we move it forward to approve it.
Will, what's needed in order to approve
I'll just
that?
do a resolution, and then somebody say a prayer for Jason now to figure out how we exactly get that accomplished and done, but, we'll have a resolution for
Jason's
Tuesday.
been here long enough now. Let's throw him a curveball. All right, thank you. Item number 17, discussion zoning code provisions allowing the city to replat a lot situated in a platted addition or subdivision. Mr. Rainey.
I asked the mayor to put this on because we have a situation has been presented to the planning commission and they've taken no action. But as I understand the zoning code, Richard, you correct me, we have a provision that allows for anyone to come to the planning commission and ask that a lot be replatted. Is that
Yes,
correct?
it's our subdivision code, not zoning, but yes.
Subdivision code.
Yes, yeah, there is a procedure for doing that, yes.
And my concern is that the process doesn't even require a public hearing, it doesn't require notice to anybody, it's just a planning commission function. And this this particular situation is dealing with a lot in faculty addition, which is out by Harding. And it's a rather large lot, I will admit, but there's an owner that desires to carve it up into 3 lots. Just by chance, that owner had requested a rezone that did require notice publication, and so some of the adjoining lot owners were aware of it. I just have a real concern that we would have a provision in our subdivision code that would authorize the planning commission to replat a lot, and that decision doesn't come to us after that. That's a planning commission. And allow a lot in a residential platted addition to be changed. When most of us bought our lots in the subdivision we live in, there is a plat. There are covenants that say how, if at all, you can change that. I just have a real concern for the city having the authority to change that. Now, again, Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the city's response was, well, the lot owners can take advantage of what covenants, if they exist, to stop that. I just don't think the city needs to be putting lot owners in that position. They have to hire attorneys to sue the city to say you can't do that. I'm all for good planning, and I think we're doing good planning, but I just have a real problem with that.
Mr. Rainey, let me ask you a question, because I know you've done some research on this. Our city attorney can chime in. Would Arkansas law allow that we would put provisions to require, number one, notice to adjacent property owners, notice in the newspaper having circulation within the city, and then also the sign to be placed out on that property for so many days ahead of time in advance of the planning commission meeting? And then also, would it allow, state law allow that on all various transactions such as this, that a public hearing be required? I know an instance that was before the planning commission at the October meeting, there was not going to be a public hearing, but by the courtesy and the good graces of the chair of the planning commission, he allowed people to speak that had an interest in this. To me, I feel like that everyone should have a right for some type of a public hearing on any transaction or anything that comes before the planning commission. Would state law allow that, for us to implement that?
I'm gonna tell you my opinion, and then we'll let the city attorney address it. And Richard, yes, I think we could do that, but I go a step forward, farther than that. Yeah, we can have a hearing and everything, but why should the planning commission, as an entity of the city of Searcy, tell my next door neighbor, you can divide up your lot, when my covenants say you can't?
I agree 100%, and I think, you know, provisions, that there needs to be provisions for the notice, as I outlined, there needs to be provisions for the public hearing, and then I would like to see it go one step farther, that if it's permissible under state law, state code, for the city council, regardless of who sits here in these 8 chairs, regardless of who individually sits in this chair, that chair, for Ward 1, Ward 4, whatever, to be able to have his final say. Would that be permissible?
Again, I say yes, but I'm gonna say one more thing and then let Will and Richard chime in. I'm only talking about R3, R4, and R5, residential, platted residential lots. We've got a lot of platted area in the city of Searcy, going way back a long time, but they're not R3, R4, or R5. We're talking about, those are the residential, that's my concern.
Mr. Rainey, are you proposing that we adjust or write a new ordinance to address the concern? Is that where you're headed?
That we amend our ordinance, yes.
I have the same concerns as you.
Me too.
sure it wasn't by design. It's, in a way, I'm glad these things come up because it helps you be aware of them.
Well, let's hear from our city attorney and city planner.
You wanna go first?
I will if you want me to, or you can. I have some.
Well, let me address the design comment first. I'll start where we ended. All of this as it stands is by design, and it is by the legislative intent of the Arkansas legislature. You are the legislative body of the city of Searcy, Arkansas. You adopt the legislative rules and procedures such as the subdivision, the zoning, the master street plan. You adopt those. That is the action you take as the legislative body in Searcy. Once adopted, the planning commission statutes dictate that the planning commission go apply that legislative action and require that they do so objectively. That is why you'll see a rezone come back to you for approval, because you are amending the legislative action that this body took. That's not just simply the planning commission applying an administrative review of the situation. The reason that there's not a public hearing in that context, I'm talking about the design here, the legislative structure. The reason for if there's a plat of any sort, that is an administrative review that shall be applied objectively. There's a Supreme Court case on point that says if it meets your rules that you adopted, then it's a thumbs up. And there is no discretion allowed to be involved. So just understand that legally you can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna tell you the lay of the land as I see it, as Richard sees it. He and I are directly aligned. The Municipal League, the way they see it, the American APA, spoke to a gentleman y'all may know, Jim Von Tunglen, heard from him today. So everything I'm saying is not just of my own making. It is, so that's the design of it. The legislative body casts the rules, the planning commission objectively applies them. With respect to restrictive covenants, the Municipal League, I want to read the exact quotes that I've got so it's not my words. Private covenants are just that, private covenants. They're privately enforceable. And Jim Von Tunglen said, Richard, check me on this one. Here you go. As for the city getting involved in restrictive covenants, this constitutes a long-standing no amongst both attorneys and planners. The only city of which I'm aware in the entire United States where a city enforces covenants is Houston, Texas, and this is done by state law, et cetera, et cetera. Richard can tell you more about Houston. That's a very
they have no zoning in Houston.
That's a very unique situation there. So I feel like I'm answering 4 or 5 different questions here, but from a design perspective and from what the law dictates, what a planning commission does and what a council does as a legislative body, where objectivity comes in, where subjectivity cannot come in per state law, and I mean, a public hearing is going to be subjective. That we've all attended enough of those to understand that that's what happens at that point. So just a general overview of the situation. I don't know that we've identified another. There might be one city in the state that does a public hearing on a plat. Consequently, it's the city that got sued and established the Supreme Court ruling of how all this should work. So you want to correct me, or
yeah, no,
you got anything new?
On the notice part, I'll hit that first. Reaching out to the Municipal League, James Walden, he's our APA chapter president. He also advises Municipal League on planning matters along with Jim Von Tunglen. I've talked to him, and Jim reached out today. Talked to Adam Willow in Jacksonville. He's our the public works director there. I've talked to former director of City of Bryant, and it's all the same, the same answers. But just regarding the public hearing portion, I'm going to read you both what James and Jim had said in some email correspondence. James Walden, he says, the city can certainly require public hearings on plats. So it is within the law, as you said, Mr. Nordstrom. You can hold public hearings on anything that comes before it. There are cities that do that. I never recommend it because of the Richardson versus the Little Rock Planning Commission case. This is the case that Will had just brought up that says you shall be objective in the application of these administrative approvals. Because what James says is it makes the public believe approval is discretionary process, and it is not. It is not a discretionary process. And so if you call a public hearing and everybody comes up to say they don't like this or whatever, and it could become subjective. And that's his point, is it's not subjective. And so it could make the public believe something that it's not. Jim says instituting a public hearing over a matter in which the city has no right to disapprove a request that meets the said minimum requirements, in my opinion, is a waste of time and resources and a classic case of asking for trouble needlessly. So the same kind of saying is that, you know, you're inviting people to make comments on something that they can't really act on because it has to be something that is objective. So that's kind of where everybody stands on the public hearings. Yes, it is something you can do. Yes, cities do that, but it needs to be very clear that if it meets, like a plat is an administrative approval, and if it meets the objectiveness of the minimum requirements that are found within both our subdivision code and the zoning code, that it should be passed objectively, not subjectively. And that's what this court case is pretty clear, and everybody continues to point to. You know, as far as the other goes, you know, with the covenants, I've asked a lot of questions on that. How do cities deal with this? How do other cities deal with this? And everybody says this is not a great idea. Jim or Will read Jim's. James basically said in his response to me was, I would strongly recommend not pursuing an amendment that prohibits replatting of lots based on a private agreement between two parties of which the city isn't one. The proper enforcement mechanism in a subdivision in which covenants exist is legal action between the parties in the agreement. And so everything that I've come back to, and Will and I have discussed, and the folks that we've talked at the Municipal League and around the planning areas around the state, basically say the same things. One, covenants are agreements between private parties that we are not a party of. So those covenants were put in place. We didn't have any say in what they are. Covenants can be anything. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's actually some really awful covenants still in existence in this state that talk about like race. Not in Searcy, but in the state, there are those that exist. So you can say pretty much anything that you want to say in the covenants. The party, or we are not a party to what people put in those covenants. So therefore, we don't sign them, we don't agree off on them, we don't sign off on them. And so what they're saying is we shouldn't get involved in the enforcement of those.
And there could also be things in there that were prohibited from enforcement.
Right, and that's the next thing I was about to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that, you know, covenants either are going to meet our minimum requirements or be more restrictive. Most of the time, they're going to be more restrictive. They can restrict things like roof pitch and building materials and color and landscaping and all of those things. The state statute's very, very, very clear, especially when it comes to residential property, what we cannot regulate. And a lot of those things, if you look at the list in the state statutes of the things that we are not allowed to regulate, those are things you find in some of these restrictive covenants. So the opinion is that if a city starts enforcing covenants, then you're going to go against the things that you're not allowed, or you're going to approve the things you're not allowed to approve, and you're overstepping your authority on approval requirements. And then, like, if you pick and choose, you know, maybe the plat doesn't seem, you know, not allowing somebody to split a lot. If the covenants say you can't split a lot, maybe that seems harmless, but it's a slippery slope. You know, where does it stop? Because let's say that that's put in place and there's a covenant out there that says you can't split a lot, and so we deny it because of that, even though it meets our code minimums. Well, the next person that comes and we approve something that violates the covenants, a group of the neighbors could come to the city and say, hey, why are you approving this one? You don't approve these over here. So it's just, gets you into these predicaments that you don't want to be in, because these are, again, are agreements that we don't sign off on. We aren't party to discussing what they are, and we should not be in the enforcement business of them. And our enforcement business is planning commission approvals, permits, and certificate of occupancies. And so if we don't issue a building permit, or we don't issue approval of something based on what a covenant says, then I think we are enforcing those covenants. And I think we are probably going against what the state tells us we have the authority to do.
Mr. Schallenberg, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Years ago, there was a lot out here on Arch Street. It was basically a field, as I recall, and we subdivided, as I recall, the council voted to allow it to be subdivided into lots for a residential area, and that's what it is now. There's, I think, probably 15, 20 houses out there on that lot that was the field. That makes me curious, what's the difference in a subdivision and a replatting?
So it's a good question, and I'm gonna draw a really important distinction. And Richard and I are directly aligned on this. The municipal league's aligned, Von Tunglen and James are all aligned. I'm gonna change your words up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm making a point. Like a neighborhood. That is a term of art. I live in the subdivision. That is a term of art. When you use the phrase
Term of
art, like just, that's the word we use to describe. Like I live in.
So it's not law, it's art.
The subdivision of land is the legal sandbox, if you will. And the subdivision of land is what governs, we have a subdivision code that's been adopted by this council that governs the subdivision of land. It doesn't, it has different rules within it, but whether it's a commercial use or a residential use, it is the subdivision of land. The thing that makes a neighborhood is those lots, private agreement to bind themselves to something otherwise. So Arch Street, for example. Arch Street is, I don't know this, I'm speculating, but it is probably platted city lots all the way down. And that neighborhood that you approved, they platted 20 more lots there. But there's no difference in Arch Street and the 20 lots off of Arch Street, other than the fact that they may have adopted private restrictive covenants to the neighborhood.
So, back in the day, am I hearing you right that that field was not platted?
Most likely, no. I doubt that field where the,
I don't know exactly.
I just remember,
I believe that was unplatted, yeah.
and I don't think the city allowed them to do that. The planning commission allowed them to do that. And it came to you to accept the dedication of the street, but that's all that came to the city council. Okay.
What addition are we talking
That's the one,
Clay Heights, just
yeah,
off
Clay
of
Heights, yeah.
Arch, just to the north of Arch. Sunset Meadows, yeah.
What's the name of it? Audrey Bolton property?
No. Yes, it was only Bolton's property. But it's right beside Arch.
Yeah,
Just
but
beside
I
the
mean,
school.
that's a typical residential addition or subdivision. I don't think those terms really matter. I'm not talking about the city having to enforce whether we got gates or purple paint on walls. I'm talking about the basic fact of a lot that someone relied upon a recorded plat and bought it. Why should the city have the authority to let the guy next door divide up his lot? I think there's a big distinction about what you are talking about and what I'm concerned about. And I think we can adopt an ordinance that would amend our zoning code and our subdivision ordinance that would prohibit the city from dividing up a lot if it's in a platted residential addition.
And that's where I think we do disagree, because I don't think we're allowed to do that. We would be the only city in the state to do so. And so that's where, and our point is when I bring up, building materials and roof pitches and, because it is no difference. They signed off on the plats that says you can't split a lot and you have to build your house in a certain way. So there's no difference because it's all within that same document that everybody signed and agreed to.
And the city's only evaluating the proposed action by the applicant in light of the rules of the city.
Well, we need
So the
to
city
change the
only
rules of the
calls,
city.
and then, and you can do that. But all we're telling you is that you would be the only city in the state that does that. And and we've been told by someone else that no one else does that, and it would be against the municipal league's advisement. That's all we're saying. But the cities right now calls balls and strikes with respect to the city's rules. Nothing else. And if they're, so the city says, I'm struggling for an analogy, but the police get called to stuff all the time. Hey, I sold David Morris a car, and he agreed to make payments to me, and if he didn't make payments, I could go get the car. Well, the police probably get that phone call, he stole my car, and they have to say, no, that's a civil dispute. That is something, that's a private agreement for y'all to go deal with. Probably a bad analogy, but there is some truth in it. It's private agreements amongst private people about anything. We don't regulate what they've agreed to themselves for, and so.
And that's unfortunately, I know the answer that nobody likes to give is that when that happens, somebody sees that happens, the recourse is to take them to court. And I know that's the answer, but you know, that's another thing that I found out in all of my phone calls just in the past week talking to other planners. Everybody says the same thing. I tell people all the time that I can't do anything about it and you're just gonna have to take it up legally with somebody. So nobody likes to say that, but that's just the case in a lot of different instances. If somebody builds a fence over on somebody else's lot, you know, I can't go out there and say, hey, you gotta move your fence. No, that's a disagreement between the boundary or wherever the fence is between those two property owners. That isn't anything that I can control. So I gotta say, well, you're just gonna have to go take that up with the legal system. So,
You know, the fence is probably a good example. We require a fence permit. I come in and say, hey, I need a fence permit. I give them my $50, they give me a fence permit. But if they go build it in violation of their covenants, or if they go build it across their neighbor's property line, or anything like that, those aren't things that we can enforce.
we would show them the document that says this is what they were supposed to build. So you can take that to the courts if you would like and fight it.
We're talking about apples and oranges.
I don't think so. I
don't think so. I don't think so at all.
No, I think it's the exact same thing. I mean, those are private covenants that you agree to that we are not part of.
So do I understand you say that there's no other city in Arkansas, I'm sorry, every other city in Arkansas allows people to replat their lots?
If it meets,
Every other city?
if it meets the subdivision and zoning code requirements.
So you're saying if our ordinance did not allow that, we wouldn't be talking about this right now?
If our subdivision, if it didn't allow replatting, so you're saying just not allowing any sort of replats ever?
I don't know, I'm learning here, you're teaching me. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I want to read him what Von Tunglin said about this is from the experts, not from me again. Typically, lots in a platted subdivision don't lend themselves well to replatting due to size. There are many cases, however, in which oversized lots allow replatting in 2 or more, subject to meeting minimum requirements, one of which typically is such that replats don't result in lots not meeting zoning requirements. And his point, that was a mouthful, but his point is that our subdivision code is fine. You can never plan for any contingency. Like most lots in all, like the subdivision that Mr. Challenberg just mentioned, those lots could never be replatted because they would never meet our subdivision code minimum requirements. This whole thing is talking about a lot that is an outlier, and that that response was in context of us saying, hey, is our zoning code, we're not an outlier here, are we? Is our zoning code within a reasonable place? And the answer to that unequivocally is yes. We're operating in a very reasonable window. We're not an outlier on one end or another.
yeah, that point is like there's the majority of subdivisions that are developed, especially the newer ones. They're probably built and designed on the minimum requirements that we have. So like, you know, in the R3 zone, 65 foot is the minimum width of a lot. So a developer's gonna come in and he's gonna carve up as many lots as he can that are 65 foot widths. So that property owner, they could not go in and split one of those lots because it would be less than the 65 foot. this is just one of those examples, and there's not very many, and it's really just in the older parts of town, the older subdivisions, that have this lot. And if you look at the original plat of Faculty Edition, those were 50-foot lots down the north side of that street. 50. That is so far more narrow than what anything that we allow in any of our zoning. And that's the way it's platted right now, all of those. There's 23 50-foot lots on the north side of Harding Drive. Somebody theoretically, right now, can go and bulldoze down 10 houses, buy all those lots, bulldoze down 10 houses, and come back and build 23 houses on that stretch. Because that's the way it's originally platted. I don't know why they left a big giant chunk of a 200 by 150 on the corner. But that's just the way it was platted. But the rest of the lots were like 150 by 50. Those are tiny. And so most of those houses that are out there are built over 2, some are built over 3. And that's what really makes the character of the neighborhood. It's not the plat. They bought 2 or 3 lots and they built over them. And now that's the way that it looks. But in actuality, the subdividing of that large lot into the 3 is wider than the other platted lots out there. So, you know, it's just one of those things, like, we can only you know, enforce what our code says. And in most cases, the zoning, whatever that zoning is, if it's R3, R4, dictate what those requirements are. In most places around town, the vast majority of places wouldn't ever be able to do that. In my neighborhood, there's not probably a single lot that could be subdivided in half and meet the minimum requirements of, I think we're R4, which is 70-foot lots. So, you know, and ours is, I live in an older neighborhood. So, like Will said, there's some outlier issues, and it's always dangerous, in my opinion, this is me just being my opinion, to change code on an outlier, on something that's not going to come up often.
I appreciate the discussion. We do have one individual that has indicated his desire to speak on this topic, so if it's all right, we can revisit more conversation in a minute. Please come up and state your name.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Brett Watson. I represent Harding University. I'm their legal counsel, one of their legal counsel. I'm authorized to say that Harding does support the city council tightening up when lots can be split. And as most of you probably know, this has come up with regarding to the Harding place over there. And maybe it is an outlier, but I suspect it's not, especially for older subdivisions. And Harding Drive and Harding Park were all designed a certain way. And granted, it was set up back in the 1950s when the legalities of all these were not as complex as they are now, but it's clear what the intent was over there, that these were the lots that would be developed and sold like this. And so we do have some concerns about perhaps maybe it's too easy to just come in and start splitting lots for the city. And I'm not the city's attorney, don't want to be, but I think Don knows this too. The Planning Commission statute specifically says the Planning Commission regulations may govern lot splits. There's no requirement under the statute that the city has to allow lot splits. And so all of this discussion about enforcing restrictive covenants, it's a red herring. It's irrelevant, because if the city simply says there are no lot splits, and you could even make it specific, lots of splits of existing neighborhoods or subdivisions, I know it's a term of art, but you can say that and say those are not within the Planning Commission's authority, because under the statute, the city council has discretion whether to allow the Planning Commission to do that. And so, again, I just wanted to emphasize that, at least from Harding University's perspective, we would like to see something tightening up those regulations, making it more difficult to split those lots from existing subdivisions. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Appreciate it. Any further discussion on this item?
Yes, I'd like some verification. There appears to be shall versus may issues possibly. So I guess I'd like clarification on which is which is right, I guess. I'm not trying to doubt anybody, but I'm confused. So.
Well, I need to know what the question is. You know, are we talking about restrictive covenants? Are we talking about platting of lots? Are we talking about platting of existing lots? Are we talking about public hearings? Like, we've covered the waterfront, and so I wanna make sure that I directly know with respect to which thing you are speaking.
I guess I'm specifically talking about the subdividing of existing lots.
Which is, like, I want to make sure that when we talk about the subdividing of an existing lot,
That's what I think I'm talking about.
like, that is something, like, a lot could be, like, that is something that routinely happens all the time. Correct?
Yes.
Like, that action itself that people take and divide their property into smaller portions is a very routine thing that takes place. And so now, the next distinction that we've discussed tonight has been this idea of a neighborhood. And so, like, which is where we got to the outline conversation.
Yeah, and I'll just point out to you, like, platted lots, like a plat with lots, a plat is just a way, is a drawing that shows the organization of land split up into blocks and lots.
That people depend on.
And so, to create a legal description for that piece of property that they can sell. There's other ways you can do it. You can do it by the meets and bounds legal descriptions, but a plat, just in general, not talking about anything that's got covenants and all that, I'm just saying, just a plat is a drawing that has a area designated that is split up between lots and blocks. Numbers, and then that legal description is lot 1 of whatever subdivision name they named it. And so that is just, it's a unit of a way to organize lot splitting. So in just the basic theory, without even thinking about regulations of minimum sizes and widths and all that jazz, like, the resplitting of a lot is just splitting a lot. It's still the subdivision of a lot. Now it's just a subdivision of a lot. And the state statutes do say that, you know, the cities can develop regulations on platting and subdividing into lots and blocks and lots into another lots, which means a replat. If you split a lot into another lot, you're basically replatting.
So, is that, then am I hearing that the splitting of a lot could be discretionary and give the planning commission and or the council the ability to say, no, you can't, as opposed to, yes, you have to?
The Supreme Court case says that is an administrative thing. So I'll just go really fast, that the way that the law is set up, cities are allowed to regulate lands. They have to regulate lands. They have to follow a process. That process is they have to establish a planning commission. They have to establish a plan for the city. That's our land use plan. That's our master street plan. Those are the policy decisions of the city council. That's how cities are allowed to regulate. They set up a planning commission. They do the plan. The planning commission prepares the plans. The city council adopts the plans, and that's the policy of the city. Then the planning commission prepares the regulations that then carry out those plans. Those regulations are zoning code and the subdivision code. Those are what dictate how we can regulate land. And that's the only way they'll allow us to regulate land, is to set these things up this way. Now, then from that point on, there are state statutes to say how far we can go in those regulations. So like, we can't, in residential, we can't regulate some of those things, like I said, you see in covenants. But we can regulate how we divide land. And it's very clear that we have the ability to do that. And so, you know, we went through we have a planning commission, and so those things, once the city council passes those rules, and unless you're coming back to change those rules, those are legislative actions. But if you're not coming back to change your rules and you're just approving something that's part of your regulations, the planning commission is supposed to look at those things objectively, because you're just following your rules. Now, if you want to change the rules, that's a legislative action. Those are the things that have to come back to the city council. But when you're just talking about administering your regulations, those have to be objectively. Some of those are so objective that the planning commission gives city staff the authority just to approve it themselves. Like a building permit is an example of that. We require building permits, but the planning commission has the authority to oversee that. They don't want to approve every building permit that comes into town. So they give the staff the authority to approve building permits if it meets all of those things. Now, if it doesn't meet those things, there's some things that have to come to the planning commission. But the planning commission is supposed to objectively look at our code and make sure that it follows the code. Now, there is some subjectivity in some things, like drainage and infrastructure. Those are some things that you can apply a little bit of judgment to. But when it comes to plating, plating has always been known as the most objective thing because it's dictated based on what the zone says your minimum requirements are, your minimum lot sizes are, the setbacks are, and if it meets all of those things, and it doesn't require any kind of infrastructure things, it's pretty cut and dry. Like they can't say that they don't like it and can't approve it. And that's because of that structure and the way that everything was created, if that makes sense. That's just kind of a brief history of how Arkansas planned.
And so I'll attempt to put a bow on it, at least from Richard and I's perspective. Once you adopt the plan, it must be objectively applied. You can change the plan. Change whatever you want. We've tried to provide you feedback with respect to what the authorities on the matter say with respect to where our code lies today. We've received confirmation that it lies in a reasonable place. Opinions as to the relationship of our code and the city's relationship with private restrictive covenants, and opinions as it relates to application objectively in public hearing.
Now, the last thing I'll say about this too is that when you read the state statutes are very clear in that the goal, I think, of the state statutes is the protection of the private property owner, like the property owner themselves. And so what the city can and can't do on somebody else's private property. And so I think there's a lot of that, like a lot of what we're talking about are the neighbors and what the neighbors think, and like, you know, my neighbors this, my neighbors this, but you know, there's a lot of those laws that are in place to protect the person who wants to do what they want to do with their land. We can only say, you're allowed to do what you want to do with your land within the confines of our law. But a lot of the things, like I said, a lot of the protections that are put in place by the state that tell us how to regulate deals with personal property. And that's what's, you know, that's kind of what drives everything right now, or forever, pretty much.
All right, thank you for the discussion. As far as the purposes of this evening, is there any directive or additional questions you want staff to work on more information toward, or what's the next step?
Back to my apples and oranges, I'm gonna draft an ordinance and submit it for consideration Tuesday night.
You have to have a public hearing to amend your legislative options, and that requires the publication of a 30-day notice.
Can you write a new ordinance, not amend one?
The state statute.
Yes or no?
No.
We can't write a new ordinance?
Well, when it comes to changing your legislative law, like the laws, that goes back to the whole how planning, allowing us to plan. So when you change the plans.
So we can't write a new ordinance?
The planning commission is created to develop the plans. And so like what I'm saying is the process, as it's outlined in the state statutes, is
Time out.
the city council.
Take this situation out of it. Can the city council not write new ordinances? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
but it has to be, if you want to change your zoning code or your subdivision code, it requires public hearing. In order to have public hearing.
That's not what I asked. I just said, could we write a new ordinance?
Yes, but not, we can't entertain it on Tuesday night.
Mr. Rainey, do you agree with that?
If the notice requirement is 15 days, we'd have to have a special council meeting later on in the morning.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I have a floor?
Yes, sir.
It seems like, sitting here listening to all this, that we've lost sight of the fact that the city of Searcy is here to serve our residents. And it seems like that what I'm hearing is we're gonna apply a cookie cutter approach, that we're gonna just check the boxes, if it meets the criteria, then pass it on without giving the residents of the city or neighbors in a particular neighborhood an opportunity to even come forward and voice their opinions. And I'm hearing that their opinion really does not matter, that, and I'm really having a very much of a big problem with the fact that, have we completely moved away from the fact that we tried to, we're here as representatives of the city in the wards that we serve, to serve the people, and that we just completely lose sight of the fact that the residents need an opportunity to come and speak at a public hearing. I'm really puzzled by the fact that it looks like we're moving completely away from giving the residents even a chance to speak. And we just simply got a cookie cutter approach, as I've used that description before, where if it checks all the boxes, then wham, we just, the planning commission is obligated to replat or whatever. I'm really concerned with the fact that I feel like we moved away from what we're really elected here to do and what the city's whole purpose is to begin with. That's my 2 cents worth, Mayor. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, so to my understanding, if an ordinance is going to be drafted, there would be a public hearing, a 50-day or 15-day period, right, in order to consider that. Is that accurate? Okay, and then Mr. Morris, just a comment. Appreciate your comment. Just in response to that, I would say that the city is not moving away, right? We're just currently conducting business as it has been, but it's certainly up to the council if we want to change so that there would be a public hearing or any other requirements.
This is the way we've been doing, I'm new. I don't see any other neighborhoods around town where people are chopping up their lots. I know somebody said it was.
That's because it's an outlier.
Yeah, it's an outlier. They're meeting their R3, R4, whatever zone it is.
Yeah.
That's just the difference is this happens to be a very big lot. In a plat, it's full of 50-foot lots.
Although the street frontage is pretty narrow.
It's 200, just under 200 foot. It's 150.
On the Wall Street side, you mean?
On Moss Drive, yeah, right. So it's got 2 street frontages, so you can count Moss as a street frontage.
Being Moss Drive.
Moss Drive.
Mr. Harding Drive.
Okay. Well, I again, thank you all for your discussion, and especially those that have come and invested a lot of time to our council or agenda meeting this evening. We appreciate. We still have several items, so we do need to move forward. But it sounds like this item is going to continue to be discussed in the future. Item number 18 is a discussion on the future uses of our facilities. In your packet, you should have a breakdown. The Grounds and Equipment Committee met to review contemplated future uses of several different properties. This is no different than really what has been on the roadmap for quite some time. We would just like confirmation from the council that this is accurate so that we can continue doing due diligence and steps. Mr. Rainey, is there any additional comments?
You've got a list in your packet. Grounds Committee made up of myself and Richard and Jeff Webb. We met with the mayor, the sanitation department out on the East Line. We're going to obtain revised design cost estimates. Police department, we're still working with Hoffman Architecture, and the number is wonderful. Carmichael Center for potential Lidle Center in the future. Richard is working on obtaining some redesign estimates. Former library, we're just kind of awaiting the other entities that might want to use it to report to us. And then the maintenance shop on Veterans Boulevard, we're also obtaining some redesign costs on that. So I think some of those things will come back in front of the council in a month or so.
When you mentioned the police department, that's the existing sanitation
That's,
Where's that on meeting house?
that's still the plan right now.
Okay.
But, we gotta get the new sanitation department situated out there, but since we're not doing recycling, some of those larger cost items out there can maybe go away. And so once we get some new estimates, then we hopefully can start moving sanitation out there and seeing what we can do if we still wanna do the police department down on BB Caps.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit of due diligence due on all of these. We just want to make sure that we're all in alignment, that this is the anticipated future use of facilities at each of these locations.
As you said, Mayor, the word anticipated because none of this has been approved by the governing body, is my understanding. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
That's right.
That's right. This is just all planning, and the grounds committee just kind of wanted to keep you all in the loop of what we've been discussing.
Thank you.
Is there any official action needed on this, Mr. Ring? All right, thank you. Item number 19 is also a discussion on the potential of a property purchase consideration on South Main and Recreation Way. Mr. Rainey, do you want to lead this discussion?
I just think if we don't buy that tract at the corner of Recreation Way and South Main, it's gonna face immediately across South Main into our entranceway to the new community center, we're gonna regret it. I'm not really happy at the price at $975,000, but I just think it's something we need to do. And y'all may think differently, and I'll understand that, but I'd ask it be put on the agenda for Tuesday night to vote to authorize the mayor to sign the real estate contract if the council so inclined.
925 or 975?
975.
So this says 25.
There should be a counter agreement in your packets. Yeah. So there's been some discussion with the property owner. It's approximately 8.62 acres located there on the corner of South Main Street and Recreation Way.
I just hate to see some facility built right there in front of the new aquatic center and across from the new community center and next to the soccer fields. Anyway, we can all vote our conscience Tuesday night.
What is the plan to fund that? I've heard different things talked about.
There's two sources, of course, unappropriated reserve, or there's probably some money that's been acquired in the bond. But my recommendation is to do the unappropriated reserve and hold on to the earnings in the bond fund until we get through the bond projects.
You agree to, Jason?
That amount of money is there.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Rainey, I'm like you, I would hate to see something else go out there, and I think if it's available to, it's a very high price, but if it's available to us, we should go ahead and try to acquire it if we possibly can. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we've got a police department building over here
I completely,
that leaks, and we've got to do something with it likewise.
I completely agree, but again, it's just a feeling that if we don't buy it, we're gonna regret it.
Mr. Morris, to that comment, the new PD is at the, top of the list, and that's why, again, we wanted to just have confirmation on future uses and locations of facilities so that we can progress with both design work and costs for a PD and other projects.
Well, I agree with Mr. Rainey. I would hate for us not to act on it if we possibly can purchase it and then see something that would not be desirable for our parks and our ballparks and the aquatic center and things of that nature. So I agree with Mr. Rainey. If we can possibly afford it, but I don't want us to lose sight of what we need to do for the police department.
Okay, so is that approval to move forward to Tuesday for a vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 20 is a discussion on vicious dog ordinance. There's a draft provided to you in your packets.
I'm gonna be frank, I'm gonna need some more time to look at it. I don't know that I'm gonna be in a position to wanna vote on it Tuesday night, but we can put it back on the agenda if the other council members want to.
Mayor, I don't, there's Chuck in, and I guess they put Chuck in because they couldn't figure out
How to spell
even
it.
spell
Yeah.
Kapowski, much less pronounce it, but I know Chuck has worked, and his folks at the Animal Shelter and Humane Society have worked very hard on this. He's been busy with me, and I know several other council members about it. The vicious dog part of it is what I'm most concerned about, because I don't know if all the council is aware of it, but we had a council member, and I believe it's her sister-in-law's mother, got viciously attacked by some vicious dogs over in a neighboring city of Kensett. And I can show you the pictures, photos on my phone, wounds through her arm and her leg, and I'm told that she may lose use of her arm. Y'all all know that my granddaughter had encountered a problem with walking her dog in the neighborhood where she lives, with two vicious dogs coming out of a house, a garage, and attacking him. And since then, my granddaughter, and Chuck, I don't even think I've had time to weigh this to you, has also encountered some more problems with a vicious dog, what she described as a Rottweiler-looking dog that had two other dogs with it. I'm very much concerned that we need to tighten up on this with the vicious dogs. You know, we're not talking about pets, we're not talking about dogs that people lead out on a leash in their neighborhood late in the afternoon to walk, to give them exercise, to use the bathroom. We're talking about just exactly what the name implies, a vicious dog. So Chuck, I appreciate all your work on this. Thank you.
All right.
That goes for everyone in this hand.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a lot of work. We've been working on it all year, and we've accessed other cities. We've looked at a lot of ordinances. We've looked at the trends. So we put a lot of effort into it. And we finally came to where we have this proposed ordinance. I do want to mention that Steve Foster and Eddie Burton are two members of our board of directors are here tonight. And we have 12 on our board of directors, and 3 of those are veterinarians, and they all support what we've proposed. I've also met individually with everyone but one of you, but also had supplied the old ordinance, the new ordinance proposed, to everyone about 3 weeks ago. I do want to point out one thing that's interesting. This applies to this. I want to clarify that this is not about just vicious dog ordinance. This is actually what we proposed is a new ordinance or a rewrite of the old ordinance. The vicious dog sections are only 2 or 3 parts of the sections, because it covers leash laws, all the procedures, all the definitions. There's so much to it, and also some steps we've added to help us with the problem we have with dogs coming in from outside the city limits to Searcy and overloading our shelter. And that's the stray verification part of the new ordinance. And that'll just allow us to take a little different approach to that. But I'll try to make this short because we've all been here a while. As far as just the vicious dog determination part, which is part of this ordinance, these sections are written based to be on behavior on non-breed specific. And what that means is you don't just automatically determine that a pit bull is a vicious dog. It instead has all the procedures for determining a vicious dog, which involves animal control. Sometimes it involves the animal shelter personnel, because you often can't
notice that, but it has all the steps and the determination of a vicious dog, how the public can notify animal control in the city about the suspected vicious dog, and it goes through those steps. I've also met with the Animal Control Department via, it was Spencer Dangerfield and now also Brian Fitz, and we went over the whole ordinance and have gone through all that. So, I do want to point out and when we're dealing with this, we estimate there's 15,000 dogs in Searcy. And we got that, I saw a face of it, and we got that number via doing some calculations, getting information from Ms. Smith, some national information. So we did all the calculations, and that's our estimate. Offhand, I wouldn't have guessed that quite that high. I would have just offhand guessed 9,000 or 10,000 based on what we know. But when you go through it and look at all the numbers, there's 15,000 dogs in Searcy. So if it sounds like we're not going to be able to move forward with this quite yet, then rather than me go through everything I was going to go through, and you certainly don't want me to read this 14-page ordinance to you, because it's long. But it does go over all the old information. We had to update a lot of definitions. We certainly had to update fines and fees and all that, because the old ordinance was back from 2003. So it's 22 years old. That sorely needed updating. So, and that's what we proposed. So,
Chuck, I'm all in favor of moving it forward to Tuesday night for action by the council. I just need to spend a little more time on it. What I am seeing, I like, because you don't define a vicious dog by breed, you define a vicious dog by act. My concern is, what's the old phrase about, you get one bite?
it has in there that if a dog is determined to be vicious, then it changes the whole setup about how the dogs are supposed to be contained, controlled. One of the big problems with any kind of dogs, because it doesn't have to be a pit bull or something to be vicious. As a matter of fact, there's more bites from Chihuahuas than there are pit bulls.
Yeah,
But
they just don't bite as deep.
It's just something you have to, the dog can be determined, and then it progressively goes into further ways they have to restrain the dog and contain the dog. And then also, if they don't, there's, not only are there fines, but then that dog can be confiscated or ordered to be out of the city. So it's quite detailed, and I think we really have everything covered. It sort of balances public safety and the rights of people to have their dogs. And it can get very complicated when you get into breed specific, because you have mixed breeds, you know, and what percentage qualifies as a so-called certain type of dog.
I still want to spend a little more time on it, Mayor, but Chuck said something real important. This is an old 2003 ordinance we're operating under. What I've seen already, I think we need to update. So I'd move we put it on the agenda to adopt Tuesday night, just like everything else. If we need to make a change later on, we can always amend it.
And again, 80% of it is not about vicious dogs. There's so much other stuff that needs to be updated.
Okay, so we're moving it forward. Any other comments or discussion from the council? If not, then it'll be moved to Tuesday. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I've
Yes,
had
sir.
a couple of different residents, they've heard about it, they want to speak on this subject. Is Tuesday night the time I should tell them they can do that? Not tell them,
who's experienced anything like that, and explain what we can do and what can be done, and answer any questions.
Thank you, Chuck, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item number 21 is a discussion, the RDOT right-of-way maintenance at interchanges. I know this was a discussion at previous agenda meeting. Mark, come on up. So the same cost, I guess, that was already provided to the councilor in your packets again, but basically it's gonna be determining what cost we might wanna budget for next year, right?
Yes.
If we just wanna do the exit ramp areas, or if we wanna go beyond that.
Yeah, and I would like to point out that these are based on this year's numbers that RDOT got. I don't know what next year's will be, so these are just estimates.
Refresh my memory, this is all RDOT land,
Yes,
but they allow cities to maintain it up
Yes.
to a certain extent or under certain circumstances?
they will allow us to, yes, by permit.
Why don't they maintain?
Well, they do, they just don't maintain it, but they mow it 3 times a year, so it gets tall. We could mow it much more often than that, make it look nice.
I really like them, the way they cleaned them out and everything, but,
But they're growing back up now.
yeah.
They're not, they may mow those once a year, maybe.
So these figures will be in next year's budget proposal to do maintenance?
Yeah, if the council, if this is something that the council is interested in us pursuing, we can get a permit from RDOT to allow us access to those spaces and then work within a budgeted amount so that we can increase the frequency of the mowing. I think that we discussed probably not gonna address the spraying at this time. Is that accurate? But just the
I think we
mowing?
would like to, but we don't have the equipment to do that, and we might find someone that could, but that is not included in this.
So if we get that permit, then mowing becomes our responsibility.
RDOT will continue to mow it as they have. We can use
Okay.
a contractor of our choosing, I suppose, if they're approved by RDOT. What I would recommend, though, is that we probably use the contractor that RDOT is using, or do it ourselves, one of the two. RDOT would continue to pay the contractor for the number of times that they currently provide that service.
Okay.
We would just be paying the additional,
Okay.
and that's reflected in this document.
Yeah, okay, I see now.
So how many times a year would you expect the city to do that at our expense?
Growing season's a pretty long term these days. I think I've got 8 months in here.
That's what I thought I saw.
So just to break down those numbers real quick, if it was to be mowed 8 times a year for the ramp section, based on the acreage and the numbers that you currently have, that's just under $55,000. However, RDOT already does that 3 times, right? So
Yep.
there's around $11,000 that RDOT is already covering, so that would be an additional cost to the city of just under $44,000 if we wanted to do it an additional 5 times, if we wanted it to be that frequent.
Correct.
Right, on top of
Yes,
the
sir.
3 they already do.
Yes, sir, and that's the ramp area.
Right.
From exit 42 to the river, is down below, and that was it. I think I had that estimated. And that's strictly an estimate because I don't have the exact acreage, at 35,000. And the two total together, just under 80,000. A lot of money, but it does look nice when people are coming to Searcy or just driving past Searcy and say, hey, that's a clean little town.
So you're talking about the one at Ray Street? Are you talking about the one at BB Caps? Are you talking about the one at?
We couldn't do the one at BB Caps, that's wetlands. We can't do that. We could mow where they mow now, but not all the trees grown up. I'm talking about going, if we're talking about right of way, we're talking about all the way from the airport, all the way to the river. That's mowing all that. right-of-way through there.
Not just around the exits, the whole right.
That's, yes, that's the second part of this. The exits are the first part at 40, you said 45,000 about?
Well, 43.8.
43, okay. And then the right-of-way, remaining right-of-way, I think I had it figured at about 35,000.
So to do all of it, just in summary, to do that whole stretch from airport to river, around $79,000, or if you just wanted to focus on the ramp area, it's around $44,000.
I'm kind of inclined to think just about the ramp area, but we'll just have to see.
And again, we'll know more when they take bids for next year, what that number might be, or, you know, if we wanted to do it ourselves, we could do that. I mean, that's, but you've got a large expense, equipment and labor there, so.
If the council wants us to, we could go ahead and just at least kind of pencil these numbers into the budget and see where the budget comes, and then that could be one that we could always reduce once we see what the final numbers look like.
I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
I think I'm done.
Okay, you know, you have several. Item number 22, update on Sawmill Road and Fuller Lane projects.
Fuller Lane is underway. Primarily, they have been removing trees that are in the work area. That's been mostly accomplished today. There are still a few that they're waiting on because roots are in some utility lines buried. They've got some concerns there. We've got to get one call back out. But they are working on Fuller. It's just underway about 2 weeks. Sawmill, they paved Sawmill, the base course at least, not the final course. They've still got a lot of sidewalk to pour. They've got a lot of box tops to finish and pour yet. Clean up, but it's looking pretty good. Obviously, they are well ahead of schedule. They are supposed to be finished by December 31. They're going to beat that by a considerable margin.
You think they will have it completed in advance of that?
Oh, yes, sir. Easily.
That's good news.
I hesitate to say when, I think, but well in advance of December 31st.
Mark, just going back to Fuller Lane, I know there's been some discussion, concern about just access of emergency vehicles on Fuller Lane. Can you just give a little bit of?
Yeah, we shut down Fuller Lane from, there's two entrances to Southwind. Between those two entrances, we have closed the road, except for local traffic, which means anyone who lives there, anyone who's going to visit someone who lives there, delivery trucks, fire trucks, ambulances, contractors willing to allow them through there, there are no problems. But the traffic was so, there was so much of it and they were driving so fast. The contractor can't work out there. It's so narrow down there on the, especially on the west end where they're working now. But again, all emergency services can go back and forth through there. If they need to get all the way through to the next neighborhood, they'll allow them to get through there. We're just trying to limit the people who are cutting through from that side of town to 267, because it's a tremendous amount. I went out there Saturday morning. I cannot tell you how many I saw come down. We've got the new subdivision down there. The road is completely barricaded, and they just turn and just drive around the barricades. We weren't working that day. I just was out there watching a little bit, and just probably 40 cars that I saw in the span of an hour that did that. So during the weekday, we would have a tremendous problem.
Okay.
Mayor, I've had concerns, and a lot of people have voiced concern about the emergency services, our police, fire, and obviously the ambulance. I talked before the meeting to the assistant fire chief and visited with him a little bit about emergency services, and also our representative on the council that is with North Star. And they assured me that that there was no restrictions at all, that emergency services could get through. Police chief's here. I didn't get a chance to visit with you out there getting frustrated, I think, with the project is taking us so long. It's been a lengthy project, it's an in-depth project, but obviously the news you delivered us tonight that it be completed before schedule. Hopefully this will be resolved here by the, at least before the end of the year, and people have been inconvenienced having to drive extra miles to and from their work and things like that. That'll be a past for them. It'll be all past history, and they'll be enjoying the new streets and the new roads that will be out there. So that's good news right there.
I would say that my understanding is all of Sawmill, except right up against BB Caps, is paved now with the base coat. And they will allow traffic to flow and utilize those side streets now. Can't get onto BB Caps from Sawmill, but you can utilize Cattail, Charlestown. You can cut over those and go to BB Caps. So they are really trying to get this done.
That will help with a lot of problems out there, but to be able to open it up there to BB Caps would be a great day for us.
It will, we're getting close. Thank you, Mark, for that update. Item number 23.
Mayor,
I'm sorry?
I want to interrupt you this minute and say, you know, I was real good friends with the director of the highway department, Dan Flowers, and he always would say that anytime that you had road construction, it was a problem, but when it was completed, it was much of a benefit. So hopefully we get this behind us.
Absolutely. Mark, do you mind to give us an update on the traffic signal at Janet and BB Caps?
Yes, those plans have been turned into the highway department. They were given back with comments. The engineering firm took those comments and replied to them. That was, I believe, in July. Been waiting on the highway department. I actually picked up the phone today and called and got the person who the plans were submitted to. And he said, this is almost a quote, not exact, but that's my fault, not mine, but his fault. That he got the plans, he was out of the office, they came through, and he saw on his phone he had an email, clicked it, and didn't mark it as unread. When he got back, he never proceeded on them. But he said he did September the 18th, he forwarded them to the correct people at the highway department for review, so we should be getting those back soon, we hope. Typically, they're about a month or maybe 6 weeks on a reply. So I think they'll help expedite those. We've also talked about proceeding at some point with Justice Signal maybe. We've got an estimate on that for $475,000. And that's really what we're waiting on the highway department for, so we can't do it until.
So let's dig into that just real quick. So you've got the traffic signal lights, right, as a portion of the project. Then you have the road, Janet, that goes north and would connect potentially to Walmart distribution. There may be some holdup there because Walmart distribution engineers are now looking at that as far as rerouting their traffic to BB Cap. So what Mark just said is the council may elect to expedite this because it's desperately needed to have a light out there, to just go ahead and move forward with the traffic signal portion of the project while we're waiting to work out the details with Walmart distribution, because that could take some additional more time. We know that there's a lot of development in the area, there's a lot of safety concerns in the area. And so once we hear back from RDOT, hopefully soon, and we can continue to put pressure on them as we often do, and we'll have a cost estimate, then maybe we can go ahead and propose biting the bullet for the cost and getting that traffic signal underway as soon as possible.
We're not gonna have to do any road construction on BB Caps, correct? We've got turn
That's
lane.
not 100% determined yet. RDOT is still reviewing. I don't think we will have to. The plans as submitted to them do not show any road reconstruction.
But they may require.
But they may. I just don't know yet.
$475,000 for the traffic light?
Well, they were $250,000 15, 20 years ago, and it's just keeps going up.
do you think your request for changing the stoplight down on BB Caps down by Remington got lost by the same guy?
It could have. I will make that call tomorrow.
Okay.
On a positive, okay, there's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of dirt turning over there. We've got Cheddar's, we've got Aldi's. I believe Target's gonna be moving before too long, and a lot of other things kicking up. So, from sales tax revenue, especially in that shopping area, it's definitely an economic boost to the city. And safety is utmost important.
It's just not safe to try to get
It's
on
not.
BB Caps. Out of that,
Market,
out of that.
the sticker shock of the price, but I remember the one right over here, you know, what it cost.
There's nothing's cheap anymore.
Thank you, Mark. All right, item number 24, request to use $10,000 from the quarter cent Fire Tax Fund 18 to upgrade the previous battalion truck into a squad truck. Chief?
Yes, sir, we purchased a new battalion truck earlier. It's just about done now. So we're just wanting to transfer the truck that they're using now to a squad truck, which would reduce, keep us from running the engines as much when we're staffed to be able to do it. Right now, we use our hazmat truck a lot of times to send out instead of an engine. This is just gonna be a smaller truck that also has tools for different things, from anything from, like, we'll have tools for wrecks and then also rescues and things like that. It's just gonna be a better use of the funds, and we won't have to get our big engines out as much.
Let's move it forward.
Chief, we're
Yes, sir.
talking about like a half ton or
Yeah, you seen what the battalions run right now? It's a three-quarter ton gas burner. It's got the cab on the back of it. That's what we're gonna be just moving it. We're just gonna be changing up some of the things in the back. We're gonna have a pull-out that we can store our tools and things like that.
Right, there's a bed in the back. that you
Yes.
pull forward.
Mhm.
I wanted to make sure, I wasn't sure if you were talking about that size truck or maybe a larger. type.
No, it's a F-250. That's what it is, yes, sir.
Three-quarter.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And that will be in the budget adjustment ordinance, or it already is. Item number 25, request for funds to replace the HVAC unit at the PD, the amount of $10,158. I know Chief's talked to Jeff Webb. This is something that has to be done.
Right, it's a 34-year-old unit that has rotted out the bottom. Apparently, some time ago, they hooked up suck pumps to it to keep the water from rotting out. I'm not an HVAC person, I'm not sure why that was done, but it's time to be replaced.
Move it forward, you don't have funds in your budget, this is gonna come out, okay.
That's more than, I think, my yearly budget.
Do what?
I think that's more than my annual budget. I think my annual budget is 10,000 for that line, for that line item.
Thanks, Chief. Item 26 is a resolution to approve being a partner on the Searcy School Board application for the Arkansas Department of Education 24-25 Joint Usage Agreement Grant. We've got Richard listed here. I can summarize it for you, but basically, this would be a grant that we can pursue in partnership with the Searcy schools to replace the digital sign at the swim center to a larger one and a newer one that works, and it would be a joint agreement. So the city's gonna pay a portion, the school system's gonna pay a portion. It's gonna benefit both the school and the community.
Move it forward.
Thank you. Item number 27 is the resolution for lien certified to the tax collector against certain properties in Searcy as a result of grass cutting expenses and abatement of other nuisances.
Move it forward.
Thank you. Item number 28, a resolution to dispose of fire department assets.
Move it forward.
Okay, thank you. Item number 29 is an ordinance addressing utility markings.
I think my proposal is gonna be to add a provision to the maintenance, the ordinance we discussed earlier. It's already dealing with utilities and easements and all that stuff that just says, hey, use a water soluble paint, we will fine you if you don't.
Okay,
And so that way they can vote on that in the ordinance.
okay, great.
What?
Does that work?
What?
We just, because it's already this is one sentence.
But I mean, why are we gonna not let them paint?
I don't know that.
No, the issue that we have is that they're using more permanent type spray paints for utility markings on hard surfaces like sidewalks, asphalt and other things, so basically graffiti that doesn't go away. And so I think what this would do is require them to use water soluble paint on those hard surfaces, not necessarily on vegetation, right, like not grass, Mark?
We're happy with the regular spray can and on grass.
But, so basically it'll go away in a shorter period of time and not,
If you'll notice, they'll paint like you use out here, a normal inverted can, will last a year on a sidewalk or something. When they really only need it down there for a couple of weeks while they're doing their work.
Have we had a lot of complaints about that, or?
I've had several there, if you look at the intersection just right over here in front of the water company, it's marked up with orange, it looks like Halloween.
Pleasure Street is horrible too.
and it doesn't go away.
Real quick, Mr. Kirkman, Mr. Rainey, you, by majority vote of the council, you can vote on that Tuesday night. On the zoning deal. It is a deviation. The reason I said 15 days is because it is a deviation from the way those things are normally amended. But I want to make sure that we didn't get out here.
I was gonna ask you the first thing in the morning.
Well, the
Excited.
statute, if you read the statutes, the very first one that talks about adoption of these things does, and this is how our procedure is always run. It runs from the planning and growth to the planning commission to the council. There's a statute at the very end that does say that amendment can be made by a majority of the council, so I wanted y'all to know that before we left tonight.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, so the utility markings, will just be addressed in the other ordinance. Is that okay with council?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then the last item is the budget adjustment ordinance. Thank you. All right, that's the end of our agenda. Thank y'all for your patience. Don't forget the November meeting will be held the day before on November 10th, and that will be the council meeting.
That's the council meeting.
That's the actual council
Agenda
meeting.
meeting.
Agenda meeting is normal. Yep, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think we want to go.
Hey, have a good one.